The man accused of ramming his car into Liverpool fans at the club's Premier League victory parade in May has pleaded not guilty to 31 offences related to the crash. 53-year-old Paul Doyle has denied every charge he's facing, including causing grievous bodily harm against 29 people injured when a car hit crowds in the city centre. Now, West Ham's ownership have agreed to meet fans planning a boycott of the next two home games. Simon Jordan says it's right for bosses to engage with fans head-on.
Obviously, currently at this moment in time, you're seeing a malaise in the team. And the question is, how much money do West Ham have? Why aren't they spending it? And are they within the confines of PSR? And Sullivan and his cronies, cohorts, are going to be able to answer those questions.
West Ham fans have been letting us know all their grievances today.
What fans would love, let's be honest, would be new ownership. We've had 15 years now, David Sullivan at the top. The board are not consistent. They want to work with the director of football, then they want to work without him.
I just couldn't bring myself to go anymore. I gave my tickets away more than I went last season.
Speaking of the Hammers, Lucas Paquetá is considering suing the FA after he was cleared of spot fixing, but his lawyer Alistair Campbell told us this.
The ultimate decision will be for Lucas. You know, if he turns around to me and says, I'm fed up with talking to you, I've had a horrendous 2 years, I don't like the law or legal process and I'm not interested, I wouldn't be surprised. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he wants to go ahead because of how frustrated he is.
Elsewhere, Liverpool may be sitting pretty in the Premier League at the moment, but David O'Leary hasn't been blown away by their performances this season. He's told us missing out on Mark Gahey could be seriously harmful to them in their title defence.
I think they're short of one player, and he'd have been an absolutely fantastic player. And if they were to lose a Van Dijk or Konate, there's not much for them to back up there.
Yeah.
And England are up against Andorra on Saturday live on talkSPORT. But Gabby Agbonlahor wants to see the team really challenged ahead of the World Cup.
I really want to see this Thomas Tuchel side, especially the World Cup is around the corner, Al, playing some tough teams. Can you play the Netherlands? Can you play Spain, Brazil, Argentina? See where this squad of players stand.
All your latest is at talksport.com.
Good evening. This is Kickoff here on talkSPORT. I'm Natalie Sawyer, and alongside me it is the former Liverpool women's striker and talkSPORT's Euros 2025 England correspondent, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk. Look, there's lots for us to get through. It has been a dramatic evening already as the breaking news emerged that Daniel Levy has left Spurs after nearly 25 years as the executive chairman. How do you view his legacy? Does he leave big shoes to fill, or could or should Spurs have achieved more during his tenure? He's certainly left them in good shape when it comes to their stadium, but as a Spurs fan, how are you feeling about it all right now? Why not get in touch this evening and let us know? 03717 223344 is the number to call us on. The WSL returns tomorrow, and in the final hour we're going to have a full preview of the forthcoming season. Will Chelsea retain their title again, or can Arsenal go from Champions League winners to league champions? And who are the other contenders this season? We'll get stuck into it, as I say, in the final hour of the show. There is a lot, though, for us to get through. And, of course, as I mentioned already, we want to hear from you. 03717 223344. That's the number to call us on. Join us this evening on Kickoff on talkSPORT.
Courtney, how are you? I'm very well. I'm very aware coming in today. Saw the news like everyone else, and I thought this is very much going to change what we're talking about today. But yeah, obviously that's why we do what we do. We love it.
That is the beauty, as you say, of live broadcasting, when you're you have your running order all prepared, and then you've got to rip it up and start again, essentially. Listen, huge breaking news coming out of Tottenham this evening as they announced that their long-serving Spurs chairman, Daniel Levy, has stepped down then after 24 years in the role. Now, under his watch, the club won one League Cup and most recently the Europa League as well. And he also brought the club one of the world's leading stadiums. So it's been quite a journey.
And now the end is near.
We haven't won enough. We now need to use that as a springboard to keep winning, because that's what this is all about.
It's my way, mate. That's what we do.
I really feel like we're building something, and what a trophy does is hopefully accelerates that.
Vicario takes it. It's glory, glory, Tottenham Hotspur.
Having won the Europa League, thank you to Ange, you get a taste of it, but it's not enough. We've won 2 trophies in the last 20 plus years.
Very proud to sit in this chair and be part of the next chapter.
Ultimately, the decision is always going to be, it has to rest with me. It's always a collective decision.
I did it my way.
Daniel Levy has today stepped down from his role as executive chairman after nearly 25 years.
Whether you're a fan of Daniel Levy or not, and there's a lot of Tottenham fans obviously have been quite public in their criticism of him, this is a seismic day for Tottenham because this is the longest serving chairman. Obviously there have been some down moments in that time.
The half is the final that I didn't play with Tottenham.
And some up ones as well.
Tottenham are in the final! It's another English miracle in the Champions League!
Nothing has changed in terms of our ambition. It's always been the case.
Yeah, probably an unpopular opinion for Spurs fans, but I think it's a case of be careful what you wish for.
More, much more than this.
Wow. There you go. That sums up then his time at Tottenham. And Courtney, it's one of those things where everyone, I think, is thinking, why now? Very bizarre sort of timing of this announcement as we're already into the new season. But, I mean, what do you make of it all?
Yeah, I think for me, again, like you say, the timing seems strange. You normally have a period, obviously it's normally very busy in the summer when you're thinking about transfers and things like that, but there is a time for a bit of thought process, a bit of thinking, and you'd think if this was something that it was maybe on the horizon for him for a while, that it would help all involved, including him potentially, to do it as a clean break when the season starts. So I mean, I'm sure we'll find out in due course, but is it a snap decision? Is it something he's been thinking about, or is it something a bit more personal where it's got to a point where it's like, right, actually for the sake of my life or something else involved that he's leaving now? Because, you know, whether you agree with him, like him, loathe him, as a Spurs fan, it's a massive job to do what he does. And it's not just a job that it's a 9 to 5 and you go home and that's it. It's as is with most football jobs, it takes over your life completely. So very strange. Hopefully we find out in due course as to why. And yeah, I think better the devil you know keeps being said. And I think about it from my perspective as a Manchester United fan and sort of, you know, it's a different situation, but sort of, you know, the Glazers and everything else. And then Ineos coming in and thinking, you know, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, this could be the big change. And then loads of jobs get cut. Ten Hag stays longer than he should do, and they admit they get that wrong. Yes, there's in between of all this new big stadium that's potentially on the horizon. So it's one of those, can you get excited as a Spurs fan? Do you respect what Levy's done? I know a lot of fans when Levy was there was, you know, in terms of they want him out, he doesn't spend enough money. But for me, and this is me with no skin in the game, and a privileged position in terms of looking at the training grounds and obviously the new stadium and going there as a former player, for one, the training ground is absolutely incredible, and then obviously Tottenham Hotspur Stadium itself to work at is incredible. So that is a legacy that I think no one can argue is an incredible place to leave the club at. Now the argument is about trophies. Should they have won more? Arguments in terms of sacking Mourinho when they did. And that's what it all comes back to. Should they have backed Poch more after the Champions League final? And there, obviously, I understand the grievances that the Spurs fans have, but football's a strange one because I think he's ran it well as a business But football's not a normal business, and that's the issue I think that the fans have.
Yeah, if you're just looking on paper as a business, indeed, it's deemed certainly as one of the most profitable clubs in Premier League history, in part due to that £1 billion stadium that they now have on the old White Hart Lane. Let's bring in a Spurs fan and, of course, a very familiar voice to talkSPORT. Danny Kelly is with us. Danny, how are you this evening?
Well, I look slightly flushed in that camera with the news. I'm having a very calm afternoon, and suddenly this thing has come like a bolt of lightning. But I'm happy to talk to yourself and Natalie and to Courtney. Insofar as I don't know any more than anybody else about this, up to now.
No, I mean, it's taken everybody by surprise. Certainly, I was here in the office, and I was the one that went, "Oh, Daniel Levy stood down," because no one was expecting it. Just tell us about, and Courtney was really accurate in her sort of understanding of the legacy of Daniel Levy. You've got this wonderful stadium, a wonderful training ground. Might look upon it differently with the team and what they've achieved in his tenure, but how do you look at his own legacy?
Look, first of all, when you say he's stepped down, he has, but of course he still owns 1/3 of the shares in the club. So he will be involved in the background at the very least. And of course, if this is the prelude to, let's say, a sale, then he's liable to walk out of it at the thick end of a billionaire. But as regards the football club, Courtney got it right. You could argue that it was an incredibly well-run business and a very averagely run football club. I wouldn't go that far. Anyone who remembers what the club was like when he took it over at the turn of the century will know that Spurs were living from hand to mouth. They were bringing in veterans and bargain bin players. And all right, it's taken 25 years, if you like, but he has utterly transformed not just the reality, but I think the prospects of the football club as well. I've had plenty of problems with him as recently as 10 days ago in the transfer window. I was doing my nut on the Spurs podcast that I present about the inability of him and his cohorts to get certain deals across the line. But if you take the timeline from when he took over to now, then he's been a monumental success. The trouble is, many young Spurs fans weren't even alive. They don't remember when Spurs were really in trouble and not punching at their proper weight. So I'm trying to put it into, I think he's done really, really well at Spurs. I also think it's probably the right time for him to step down, depending on what comes next.
Well, 25 or nearly 25 years is a heck of a long time for anyone to be in charge of anything these days, certainly. And when you consider when he took over, like you pointed out in 2001, Danny, he would have taken over where the Premier League meetings that he would have gone to, he'd have been the young one in there when you think of all the older chairmen that used to be involved in those meetings. So he was the young gun coming in, hoping to revolutionise the Premier League in whatever way he thought possible. But I suppose we've had such a mixed reaction from fans. I've already heard here on talkSPORT. Sure. Many sort of saying they're not celebrating this because actually, as you rightly pointed out, that when he first came in, they weren't in a great position. And yet now you are in a position of competitiveness. Now, you might not be still where you want to be in terms of those wages that you're not necessarily giving.
But no football fans are, Natalie.
No,
everybody wants more.
Yeah.
More points, more positions, more European football, more wages, more transfer spend. It is the nature of the game now that no one's ever quite satisfied with what they got. Except maybe Brentford fans, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Some of us were a bit disappointed at the window, but hey-ho, we won't go into that. It's not about us this evening.
No.
But in terms of, for those that he, like look at this window, for example, Morgan Gibbs-White. Okay, the Nottingham Forest side of things, they were adamant that was never going to happen. Then you look towards Eberici Eze, and it looked as though you were going to get him, and it felt like, and so some suggest that there was the stumbling block was how long it took for Daniel Levy to talk to Crystal Palace, to talk to those in the negotiation process. Do you think that's part of the issue that you had with Daniel Levy and those involved and the higher echelons at Tottenham, that sometimes things just took a little long and then therefore you missed out on things?
It's very possible, Natalie, because he comes from a retail background where every penny counted, because he comes from a now defunct organisation called Millets. I know it's a quarter of a century ago, and so I shouldn't go on about that. But and of course it's slightly exacerbated for Spurs fans by the fact that the more money he saves in the Spurs bank account. It's more money for him personally. He's not. He's both an owner as well as an executive, and that, I think, has complicated, muddied the waters. But two things very quickly. One, I think, yes, that we all know a fella or a woman, you walk into the pub and you say, look, I got this new watch, 25 quid. They go, you should have told me I could have got you that for 20 quid. Of course, they never can get it for you for 20 quid. They just talk like that. Secondly, I think we have to accept that the world changes around all of us, and that the kind of people who Daniel Levy was sitting down around the boardrooms of the Premier League 25 years ago have dramatically changed. You're talking about nation states. You're talking about gigantic, faceless American investment companies. You're talking about Mr. Marinakis, who has global reach, who is moving players and money around the globe from South America to Europe, etc. The game has completely changed. Now, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute, because I don't know that Daniel Levy has fallen behind in all that. It's worth making the point that the business which he was so successful at is changing even as we speak.
Well, within this statement that they put out, they did say right at the end, Danny, there are no changes to the ownership or shareholder structure of the club, and the incomings, let's say, over the last few months, whether it's with the new chief executive officer, with Thomas Frank, of course, as their head coach, and now Peter Charrington, who will be the non-executive chairman. They say these people have all been brought in to ensure long-term sporting success. Are you worried, though, that there could be further changes down the line?
I'm not worried. I'm worried about what they might be. You know, change is inevitable. Change is part of life. Change is definitely part of sport. It is a question. Look, it is very possible. I don't know. You'll have to find brainier people than me. I suggest Simon Jordan. It is very possible that Daniel Levy has stood down because he has been seen as a stumbling block to further investment, or indeed a change of ownership. His insistence on staying on as the chairman seems to have, if you believe what you read, seems to have put certain investors off. Now he's taken that stumbling block out of the way, and it's left to the people he's left behind, and of course he still, as I say, has a major shareholding, to do some of the things that he has not quite done. If there's going to be new owners, let's find out who they are, let's get them in. If it's simple things like the naming rights for the stadium, we're nearly into the 7th year of the stadium now, and it's still the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium instead of the, I don't know, Coca-Cola Norma Dome, whatever it's going to be called. There are things that need to be done, and I wonder whether he has been a slight sort of blockage in the system. Having said that, Natalie, because I want to be absolutely fair here, this close season, Spurs have bought in 4 starters, Premier League starters, Champions League starters. That they haven't done that any previous season, and maybe again that may be a sign that things were going to change. It would have probably made more sense for him to go when they won the Europa League. That would have been a very high point for him. But of course, then they had the problem of, they were going to change the manager, and so he couldn't go then either. We shall see.
We shall see. Danny, appreciate you joining us at short notice. So thank you.
Oh, don't worry, I've got plenty of other things to do about this now, Natalie. But thanks. But TalkSport is always first. You know that.
Indeed, prioritising us. That's what we like to hear, Danny. Thank you.
Bless you.
Good to hear from lifelong Spurs fan Danny Kelly there, of course, a familiar voice here on talkSPORT 2. Right, we will be asking for you to get involved. Let us know what you make of this huge announcement from Tottenham today. But a reminder, Wales were in World Cup qualifying action earlier on, and they beat Kazakhstan 1-0 away. There's also a game taking place this evening, which sees Northern Ireland start their World Cup qualifying campaign in Group A. So let's bring you the team news from their trip to Luxembourg with talkSPORT's Ian Abrahams.
Yeah, Michael O'Neill will be hoping that his team can perform tonight. Bailey, Peacock, Farrell gets the gloves in goal. Hume, Towell, McNair, Bradley, Devaney, McCann, Shea Charles, and then an exciting 3 of Ethan Galbraith, Isaac Price, who's been doing really well for West Brom since the start of the season, and Stevenage's Jamie Reid, who over the last 2 or 3 years has been banging in the goals at the Lamex. It's a 7:45 kickoff for Luxembourg against Northern Ireland.
Ian, thank you very much. We'll have updates from that then throughout. On the way next, we'll bring you the very latest odds, and shortly we'll be speaking to football writer Henry Winter to get his take on Daniel Levy's tenure at Spurs. But you too can have your say. 03717 2233 44. You're listening in to Kick-Off with Ladbrokes. 18 and over. BeGambleAware.org. You listen to Kick-Off on talkSPORT with me, Natalie Sawyer, and the former Liverpool women's striker Courtney Sweetman-Kirk. Right, it's time for us to bring you an update on what's happening in the second one-day international between England and South Africa. talkSPORT's Sam Ellard is across it. Sam?
Yeah, the game is bubbling along very nicely now. 23 overs completed in the second innings. England 140 for 2. The target for victory 331. So England needing 192 more runs. They're going at 6 runs and over. The required run rate from here on in is 7 and over. So a little bit behind the game in that respect. But if Jacob Bethel spends much more time at the crease, they're going to get closer and closer to that target. He's been bumped up the order to number 4 and is batting beautifully. He's 56 not out from just 38 balls. He's at 5 4s from 3 6s and took a liking to the South African spinners, in particular Aidan Markram, scoring 27 runs from just 2 overs from the part-time off-spinner. So Bethel's got 56. Joe Root at the other end is not out on 57. Another ODI 50 for Joe Root. So this partnership is a good one for England. It's worth 100 runs. It's worth. Root's got 58. Bethel's got 56. 2 wickets to fall. Smith for a duck. Ducky for 14. England 140 for 2, needing a further 100 291 runs to win.
Sam, thank you very much. OK, shortly we will continue our discussion on Daniel Levy and Spurs, but right now it's time for us to bring you the latest odds updates with Ladbrokes.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. 18+ gambleaware.org.
Good evening, Alex Apati. How are you doing tonight?
Yeah, very good. Thank you both. How are we?
Yeah, I think we're doing all right. I mean, the Spurs news has taken everyone by huge surprise this evening, but there's still a lot for us to sort of get into in terms of tonight's games because there are World Cup qualifiers taking place, Alex.
Yeah, and some ridiculously short prices in there as well. Tonight, Belgium, for example, are 1-200 to beat Liechtenstein. Spain, 1-16 to beat Bulgaria. There is one game that does interest me, though. Northern Ireland, they're favourites to win in Luxembourg. They're just over even money as well, they are. They're unbeaten in 4 against tonight's opponents, and you've got to say, if they have any chance of getting out of Group A with the likes of Slovakia and Germany in there, then they absolutely need to beat Luxembourg home and away. I think they're a really good price at 23-20. And on the subject of price, Isaac Price-Start's already been involved in 5 goals for West Brom this season, has scored 9 goals in 22 games for Northern Ireland, which means he's 4 goals away from being their 3rd top goal scorer of all time. He's 100-30 to score tonight. Yeah, I like the look of that.
Okay, all right. Let's move on to some of the other games coming our way over the next couple of days, and we'll come to England in just a moment, but Scotland are in action tomorrow night. They're in Denmark as they begin their qualifiers.
Yeah, it's probably going to be Scotland's toughest test of their group, I think. Away at Denmark, they're 9-2, so relatively big outsiders there. Denmark 4-7, and the draw is 3-1. Although I was looking earlier, and these two have never drawn a game in 17 meetings. Scotland have won 3 of their last 4 against Denmark, as recent as 2021 too. That finished 2-0. And their recent form in general is pretty decent as well. Since last October, they've drawn with Portugal and beaten the likes of Croatia, Poland and Greece. So I wouldn't be against backing Scotland to win or draw here at 11-8. As I say, though, Denmark's strongest team in Group C. They're 10-11, so a shade of odds on to top it. A couple of names people will recognise there. Rasmus Højlund, obviously, and Kasper Dolberg among the favourites to open the scoring tomorrow night at 4-1 and 5-1 respectively. But we've got to mention Scott McTominay, though. He's absolutely flying in Italy, isn't he? He's already scored for Napoli this season, 4-1 for a goal at any time tomorrow night. And talk about Isaac Price and his record for Northern Ireland, but McTominay, 12 goals for Scotland now. So if he does get on the score sheet tomorrow, you would fancy it probably being a successful night for the visitors in Denmark.
Yeah, certainly so. We should say it's Belarus and Greece. That last win over Andorra, perhaps not the most convincing of displays, and that's who they face tomorrow, Alex.
Yeah, it wasn't the most glamorous, but we are still, 1-300 to win this weekend. Andorra,
where's the
100
value
to 1.
in that?
Well, £5, Natalie, gets you 2 pence back. So any win's a winner, isn't it? No matter the amount. But England, yet to concede in their 3 qualifying games so far, and are unlikely to concede this weekend. 7 times we've played Andorra before. It's currently 26-0 to England on aggregate. As you say, they finished 1-0 last time out 3 months ago, where everything just felt a bit flat. And we're 12-1 for a repeat of that scoreline. 4-0 is the most likely score here at 9-2. The 1-0 in June was courtesy of a Harry Kane goal. Obviously, he's 2-1 favourite to score first, just over evens for 2 or more. And for context, in the goalscorer market, not one Andorra player is more likely than any of England's outfield players to score first on Saturday. So Ricard Fernandez is most likely for them at 40-1. Least likely for England is Tino Livramento at 28-1. It's a hard task here finding a bet builder of sorts, but we'll go with Eze to score, England to win both halves, and 5 or more goals in the game. Even that, I feel bad. It's 5-4.
Oh, crikey. All right. This weekend, it's the beginning of the new WSL season, something we'll look ahead to in the final hour of the show. But it only makes sense that we got to find out who the favourites. Presumably, it's got to be Chelsea.
Yeah, you say that. Yeah, you're right, first of all. They're around even money, Chelsea. They've dominated completely in recent years, 6 titles in a row and won it at a canter last season too. So, as I say, justified favourites. But Arsenal are going to be well backed this year. I think they're around 7-4 now. Obviously, Champions League winners, runners-up last year, have strengthened in the transfer window. And I think 6 Arsenal players were among England's Euros winning side in the summer. So they're packing a lot of experience there now, both for club and country. And as I say, they will be well fancied. City 7-1 alongside Man United. Suggest both have got their work cut out this year. Man City, I mean, you'll talk about it later, I'm sure, but just a bit disappointing, a bit flat last year. 17 points off top spot, and United haven't really laid a glove on the league in the last few seasons. So it'll take a big effort for either of those two. Elsewhere, everyone else is 66-1 or bigger, except London City Lionesses, who are quite the unknown at the moment, but they've invested heavily. They're 14-1 to win the league, which is punchy, but our traders don't want to rule them out just yet. But as I say, 2-horse race for me, Chelsea and Arsenal. I'll go with the slight outsiders, Arsenal. Yeah, they're 7-4.
Brilliant. Alex, thank you very much. And we will get Courtney's take on the new WSL season a little bit later on and see whether or not she agrees. It's Chelsea and Arsenal, just a 2-horse race for that title. That was a look at the latest odds with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over. BeGambleAware.org.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. 18+ gambleaware.org.
Just a reminder for you, we are bringing you a reaction to the huge news that Daniel Levy has stepped down from his position as the executive chairman of Spurs. Up next, we'll speak to football writer Henry Winter as he gives us his assessment of Levy's time then at the club. You're listening in to Kick Off with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over. BeGambleAware.org.
The man accused of ramming his car into Liverpool fans at the club's Premier League victory parade in May has pleaded not guilty to 31 offences related to the crash. 53-year-old Paul Doyle has denied every charge he's facing, including causing grievous bodily harm against 29 people injured when a car hit crowds in the city centre. Now, West Ham's ownership have agreed to meet fans planning a boycott of the next 2 home games. Simon Jordan says it's right for bosses to engage with fans head on.
Obviously, currently at this moment in time, you're seeing a malaise in the team. And the question is, how much money do West Ham have? Why aren't they spending it? And are they within the confines of PSR? And Sullivan and his cronies, cohorts, are going to be able to answer those questions.
West Ham fans have been letting us know all their grievances today.
What fans would love, let's be honest, would be new ownership. We've had 15 years now, David Sullivan at the top.
The board are not consistent. They want to work with the director of football, then they want to work without him.
I just couldn't bring myself to go anymore. I gave my tickets away more than I went last season.
Speaking of the Hammers, Lucas Paquetá is considering suing the FA after he was cleared of spot fixing, but his lawyer Alistair Campbell told us this.
If he turns around to me and says, I'm fed up with talking to you, I've had a horrendous 2 years, I don't like the law or legal process, and I'm not interested, I wouldn't be surprised. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he wants to go ahead because of how frustrated he is.
All your latest is at talksport.com.
Good evening, this is Kick-Off on talkSPORT with me, Natalie Sawyer, and the former Liverpool women's striker Courtney Sweetman-Kirk. Now, before we speak more on the news with regards to Daniel Levy standing down as the Spurs executive chairman, just some more breaking news to bring you with regards to the WSL, because it's deadline day today before the season kicks off tomorrow. One of England's victorious Lionesses, Grace Clinton, has announced she has left Manchester United. She's posted on Instagram thanking the club, describing it as a very difficult decision as well. And it's widely expected she's going to be joining City rivals, Manchester City, before the transfer window closes at 11 this evening. It's, as it says, a very difficult decision, Courtney, for her to make, to leave Manchester United, especially going to one of their rivals too.
Yeah, and it, you know, I read the statement and my first thing was a little bit, not cold necessarily towards the fans and the supporters, but the exact words me and the club have decided or taken the decision to part ways over the past few days. Don't know what's gone on there. I think from my opinion, when you look at where Grace has been, obviously she went out on loan, was brilliant at Spurs. People, you know, a lot of Manchester United fans argued that she shouldn't have gone out. She should have still been playing. She comes back, probably doesn't play as much as I anticipated last season as well. And then you're looking at the game tomorrow, Chelsea, Man City, and thinking, right, is the deal going to be done in time for her to play tomorrow? And then there's everything surrounding potentially Jess Park. There was maybe a bit of an inclination in the last few days saying that is there going to be a swap deal between Grace Clinton and Jess Park? Obviously, we're not to know just yet. But yeah, it's I think the end of it says it all for me as well. She wants to continue her development, learn and about her growth. So fantastic player, Grace Clinton, really good player. And I think if it is to be City, she'd fit in really well.
OK, we'll have more on that and plenty more too to come from 9 when we talk more on the new WSL season, which starts tomorrow. Right now, though, let's speak to football writer and host of the Sunday edition, Henry Winter, who joins us to discuss the Daniel Levy breaking news story. Henry, good evening to you.
Hi.
I suppose.
Good. Nice quiet show. Not a lot happening.
No, tell me about it. Here we are thinking, well, we'll have a nice quiet evening, but no, that's not the case. Tottenham thought different, and Daniel Levy too. So I suppose the first question has to be your reaction to it. What do you make of it?
Well, surprised. I mean, on the basis that, you know, he's built an incredible stadium, good training ground. They've just won a trophy. He's got a fantastic manager in Thomas Frank. You know, that things were sort of moving a little bit more positively to him. But if you take a longer perspective and you look and you listen particularly, and you'll have both been to Tottenham games and you'll have heard the dissent from the fans inside the ground, the Levy out banners. You know, I mean, he's been there 24 years, and that can't have been easy for him as a Spurs fan. Can't have been easy for his family. I mean, look, I'm not a fan of him. I've had my run-ins, but you know that must build up a bit. But I think I think most Tottenham fans will probably be pleased with this, because they felt that at key moments the club wasn't ambitious enough. 2019 Champions League final. Did they back Pochettino enough? Tanguy Ndombele came in. Ryan Sessegnon came in for 80, 90 million quid. When the fans wanted to sort of go again because they were so close, and then sort of bizarre decisions like getting rid of Pochettino's successor, Jose Mourinho. Whatever you think of Jose Mourinho and his style, he kind of wins big matches, and to get rid of him, a couple of days before the League Cup final was odd. So and wage structure and issues like that. So yeah, it was. I don't think he'll be particularly missed by many Spurs fans.
Well, it's an interesting one because we've had a real mixed reaction, actually, so far here on talkSPORT, with some sort of, maybe they're older fans, perhaps, Henry, who have sort of said, look, when he first came in, we weren't at the level we are at now. And I know there'll be a lot of Tottenham fans right now saying, well, hang on, we're not at any particularly high level, especially after last season in the Premier League, certainly. But there'll be those that might think, actually, like I said, in 2001, Tottenham weren't a team regularly competing for Europe, whereas now we can argue that possibly they are.
Yeah, but then in terms of trophies, Palace have won 2, in the last sort of 4 months. In terms of well-run club, your club is fantastically run. Look at Brighton, how well-run they are. I mean, Spurs and their fans, because of their history and the great players they've had down the years and some of the amazing, performances they have had, particularly in the Cups down the years, they think they should be eating at the dining at the top table. And I think if you do have limitations on wages, I mean, just to give you some insight, I spent a year helping Michael Carrick writing his book. He didn't need any help, actually. He's quite capable of writing himself, but I just sort of put the kettle on and listened to him. And and part of that was 2006, when he felt that he deserved a wage increase. Levy at the time was juggling sort of funds with Ledley King as well, and Michael just basically felt that he wasn't getting the reward, because he hadn't actually moved, I don't think, for any particular sum more when he moved from West Ham. So I think he then decided, well, look, it's time to move on. And then Manchester United came in, and the sort of the deal and the negotiation dragged on so long, which absolutely is in Levy's right. And you can talk to anyone in football and they say, it's like fighting a tiger when you negotiate with Daniel Levy. But eventually it did get done. He got 18 million quid, which was a significant sum. And even Michael said he was surprised it went that high. So fair play to Levy's negotiating skills. But of course the delay, and I'm sure subsequent coaches would say this, for Martin Jol, found it difficult then to go and find a suitable replacement for. So swings and roundabouts on that one. But look, I agree with you. Look, he's done a lot of good. You've been to the training ground. You've been to the stadium. But, I can remember when Spurs fans were singing about Beyonce, can she play left back? Or Guns N' Roses, can they play up front? Guns N' Roses probably can. But, they want a little bit more investment in the team, given the money that was expected to be generated from this amazing stadium.
Yeah, and I think most of us get that. Most of us get the angst that those fans who had their issues against Levy, we understand that entirely, because to have one of the most profitable clubs in the Premier League, if not the world now, and to not see that investment go into the team itself, I think we could all understand where the criticism comes from. And I suppose as a businessman, though, Henry, he might look at his legacy and go, well, look what I've left you with. I've left you with this incredible stadium. You've already said the incredible training ground as well. It's all sort of geared up for success.
But what is success? I mean, going in and the fact that they've won an RIBA award, and it's, I'm the son of an architect, so, I sort of rate that highly. And, and it's a fantastic trophy, but you're not going to put an RIBA national award in your trophy cabinet. And he only, put 2 trophies in there in 24 years and 15, 16 managers. So I can understand their frustration. Look, you come from a well-run club with an owner, even though he is, fairly, he keeps a low profile, Matthew Benham, but he does engage with fans. And I think this is, Levy didn't. And I don't think he, whether it was standoff, whether it was something in his personality, whether he thought he was just going to get stick whenever he presented himself to fans, just turning up at Cambridge Union every now and again is not engaging with fans, your match-going fans, sufficiently.
Yeah. After nearly 25 years in charge, then, what do you think his legacy will be?
Stadium, training ground, Thomas Frank. I mean, I mean, there has been a very good
not
appointment.
letting you have Thomas Frank. Yeah, that's our legacy.
It's your legacy, but you absolutely developed him, and Spurs have taken him. It just, it's a huge compliment to your talent spotting, if I can put it that way. I mean, Bilbao was special. They're back in the Champions League. I mean, I was listening to Crookie earlier, and I'm sure he's right. I'm sure there will be increasing talk of potential new buyers or new investors in Tottenham Hotspur, because, as you say, it's a London club, fantastic stadium, a lot going for it at the moment, back in the Champions League. So I'm sure there will be, even though the last line of the statement announcing Levy's departure says, there will be no change in the ownership or shareholder structure, but we'll see.
Well, Henry, we were hoping to talk England with you, weren't we? That was the whole point why we were getting you on, but unfortunately the Daniel Levy story has taken precedence. I suppose a quick word on England and what you hope to see on Saturday against Andorra. Obviously a much better performance than last time.
Playing with freedom, Elliot Anderson to start, some of the younger players given a chance and going for it. Maybe we can combine the two. Jed Spence playing well.
Fabulous. Henry, as always, it's great to get you on. Thank you.
Pleasure.
You are listening into Kickoff on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over. BeGambleAware.org. Next up, we'll get the latest from the second ODI, where some more wickets have fallen, and we'll take your calls on Daniel Levy. Good evening, this is Kick-Off on talkSPORT with me, Natalie Sawyer, and former Liverpool women's striker and talkSPORT Euro 2025 England women's reporter Courtney Sweetman-Kirk. Right, it's now time for you to take over our show this evening because we want you to get involved and tell us what you make of this announcement from Tottenham and the fact that Daniel Levy, after nearly 25 years as the executive chairman, will be stepping down as of today. That's what the announcement was made. Around 6 o'clock, 6:30, something like that. Let's get to your calls straight away. Let's get to Colin, the Spurs fan who joins us this evening. Colin, good evening. How are you?
Good evening. Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. May I just start by saying, cover me in eggs and flour, bake me for 20 minutes. He's gone. This is what we need. Absolutely.
I take it you're happy then, Colin.
Oh, jubilant. Absolutely jubilant. That man is... It's brilliant. And it wouldn't surprise me now if you don't hear by Monday, Tottenham have been sold, because that is the way it needs to go now.
Oh, okay.
We need injection.
So you even want Joe Lewis gone as well, and Enoch?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
They've had him in so long. Yes, he built a magnificent stadium, the family, all that lot. Absolutely done it all. Now we need someone to go, right, let's get the club going. We've got the infrastructure.
Colin, can I ask how long you've been a Spurs fan for?
Well, since I was 3 years old, and I'm 54.
Oh, okay. So you've been there throughout the Levy-Enoch sort of reign, if you like. Okay, so if you go back to when they first took over, where were Spurs at that point? Because they certainly weren't competing for Europe, were they?
Nope, they weren't.
Okay. So in some ways, there's been some good.
Man United, when Alex came in, they were near relegation.
Yeah. No, a good point. But I suppose I'm trying to say, and I'm playing devil's advocate here because I totally understand your point of view in all of this. But I suppose when they first came in, to have got to now kind of where you are at now does show there has been improvement. It's just maybe in latter years it's stagnated.
Exactly.
Right.
And fresh eyes, fresh people.
Okay. Well, Colin, you seem very happy. We'll let you pop the champagne and enjoy yourself. Thank you very much for calling in this evening. We've got to get to a goal in the Luxembourg-Northern Ireland game that Ian Abrahams is across for us. Ian?
7 minutes gone. Luxembourg 0, Northern Ireland 1. Penalty awarded by VAR for a handball inside the penalty area. It was a handball, no question about that. Isaac Price of West Brom, really tentative kick away to the goalkeeper's left-hand side. He made the save, but could only palm it out to Stevenage's Jamie Reid, who slammed it into the corner. Luxembourg 0, Northern Ireland 1.
Oh, good start then for Michael O'Neill's side as they begin their World Cup qualifying campaign. Let's get to more of your calls and your reaction to the news then that Daniel Levy is standing down as the executive chairman at Tottenham. Spurs fan Luke is on the line. Hello, Luke.
Hey, Natalie, how are you?
Very well. Thank you very much for calling us this evening. So are you happy? Are you sort of unsure of how you're feeling?
A little bit unsure. I mean, look, I think his time has come. Obviously, he's done a good job in parts. You can't say he hasn't. Built a stadium, made it compete at times. I think there were some errors where he probably has got mistakes that he probably is aware of. Like we had potential where we could have built on the Champions League final, getting to that, and maybe really pushing on from there. That didn't quite work out. I think the Redknapp days there was a potential of really going for the league at one point, and didn't invest and didn't get the players that Harry Redknapp needed. So there was lots of points where we could have pushed ourselves onto that next level. A turning point, I think, which really showed us up a little bit was when we beat Liverpool at Wembley. I think it was like 4-1 or something, and they looked at what they did, how they got destroyed by us, and went, right, we need a goalkeeper. We need a big player in the centre back. They did that. They spent a lot of money on Alisson, a lot of money on Van Dijk, and look where they are, where that pushed them. We just had a great team that we had under Pochettino, and just wore them out, and didn't invest at the right time, and that was where his problems lied. I don't think this was a decision that he made a year ago, 6 months ago. I think this was something that happened over the transfer window of the one that's just gone. I think no club wants to deal with him. Chelsea doesn't want to buy and sell to us. Nottingham Forest completely, humiliated him, and no one wants to touch us. And not as much money as they have. The little teams don't need to sell quite as easily because there's lots of money in the game from what it was maybe 10 or 15 years ago. So I think he's realised that I've had my day, and he's probably a decision over the last I think over the transfer window potentially.
I mean, look, he's the longest-serving Premier League chairman, nearly 25 years. I mean, it's extraordinary a length of time that he's been at the club for. But what would you say his legacy will be?
Well, the legacy is always going to be. It's just going to be the training ground and the stadium, isn't it? That's all you're going to look at, okay, we won a cup last season, and a fantastic cup to win. It's for me. I feel quite. It's a little bit tainted for me because of the league form and really who the teams we played. Yeah, it's great. You can't deny it wasn't, but. We got a cup, we got a league cup, and in that right at the end of his tenure. So there was a lot in between that we should have won a lot more. You can't. You're not always going to win. It's very difficult. There's only relatively probably a club like Spurs, probably 2 or 3 cups you can win. We started pushing for the league at a few stages, and we come runners up. And there was the time when Leicester won it. You got the odd kind of part. We should have pushed on there. It's like, wow, that was their time. I don't think he really believes in people with the money. We buy players that are like. He wants to buy a player that's 25, 30, 40 million, and he wants them to be an £80 million player. He just buy the £80 million player, and he don't do that. He buys the 25, 30 million, and he has lots of errors. But I think where he's done well with like Dele Alli, them kind of players, and it's like bought for £5 million. They're amazing. Oh, it didn't quite work out for him in the end, but it's like, oh, that worked. That's what we've got to do, because that was a £5 million player. He could have sold him 2 or 3 years later for 50, 60, 70 million, and that's what he's always looking for. Well. But he has spent a lot of money, but he spent a lot of money. But if you look at the sell on, I've got a good friend of mine who's a Chelsea fan, and I give him a banter saying, "Oh, look, you should be winning the league this season because Chelsea spent X amount of money." And he's like having a laugh. Look at their net spend. Sent me a thing over from Sky Sports, and their net spend was like minus 17 million this season, and theirs was 200 and something or whatever it was. They've sold £300 million worth of players. Now, we can't sell our players. Brian Hill, for example, buying for 25 million, swapped him for Lamela as well. And he's gone out alone. He hasn't done this, he's done that. I feel sorry for the kid, and that's what Daniel Levy does.
Luke, can I ask you quickly, because I know we've got to go to a break quite shortly, but where do you want this Spurs team to, in realism? We all want to go and win the Champions League and the Premier League, but say, give in 3 years, what do you think this club can achieve realistically? Oh,
well, realistically, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? But there's no reason why we should not be. We should be back. Look, we're not top 4 team at the moment. We should definitely be back in that top 4 team, doing what we was doing under Pochettino years. We should be knocking on that door of trying to compete by winning a league. Well, I don't know if we will do, but there was a call earlier when I was on the drive time, just be quickly, but they were talking about players won't want to go to Spurs instead of Liverpool, and Man City. But Man City were once quite just in the doldrums. They were the Tottenham of Manchester. But players went to them because they went, you know what, we can do this. We've got some money. Let's back it. Let's put some money into it. Let's pay the players the right money. Got the Robinho players in, and then eventually built on from that. There's no reason why, if you invest correctly with the right players, you can't get there.
Well, Luke, that is exactly what they've sort of alluded to in that statement from earlier on, with all the new people put in place, from this new chief executive to the new non-executive chairman to even Thomas Frank as well. These are the people that have been put in place, they say, to deliver long-term sporting success. Luke, thank you for your call, and Colin likewise too. And if you want to get in touch, you're more than welcome too. You're listening to Kick Off on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over. BeGambleAware.org. Next up, we'll get the latest from the second ODI. Plus, we'll bring you the former Spurs midfielder Gus Poyet and give us his take on Daniel Levy's decision to stand down. The man accused of ramming his car into Liverpool fans at the club's Premier League victory parade in May has pleaded not guilty to 31 offences related to the crash. 53-year-old Paul Doyle has denied every charge he's facing, including causing grievous bodily harm against 29 people injured when a car hit crowds in the city centre. Now, West Ham's ownership have agreed to meet fans planning a boycott of the next two home games. Simon Jordan says it's right for bosses to engage with fans head-on.
Obviously, currently at this moment in time, you're seeing a malaise in the team. And the question is, how much money do West Ham have? Why aren't they spending it? And are they within the confines of PSR? And Sullivan and his cronies, cohorts, are going to be able to answer those questions.
West Ham fans have been letting us know all their grievances today.
What fans would love, let's be honest, would be new ownership. We've had 15 years now, David Sullivan at the top.
The board are not consistent. They want to work with the director of football, then they want to work without him.
I just couldn't bring myself to go anymore. I gave my tickets away more than I went last season.
Speaking of the Hammers, Lucas Paquetá is considering suing the FA after he was cleared of spot fixing, but his lawyer Alistair Campbell told us this.
The ultimate decision will be for Lucas. You know, if he turns around to me and says, I'm fed up with talking to you, I've had a horrendous 2 years, I don't like the law or legal process, and I'm not interested, I wouldn't be surprised. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he wants to go ahead because of how frustrated he is.
Elsewhere, Liverpool may be sitting pretty in the Premier League at the moment, but David O'Leary hasn't been blown away by their performances this season. He's told us missing out on Mark Gahey could be seriously harmful to them in their title defence.
I think they're short of one player, and he'd have been an absolutely fantastic player. And if they were to lose a Van Dijk or Konate, there's not much for them to back up there.
Yeah.
And England are up against Andorra on Saturday live on talkSPORT. But Gabby Agbonlahor wants to see the team really challenged ahead of the World Cup.
I really want to see this Thomas Tuchel side, especially the World Cup is around the corner now, playing some tough teams. Can you play the Netherlands? Can you play Spain, Brazil, Argentina? See where this squad of players stand.
All your latest is at talksport.com.
Good evening and welcome to Kickoff here on talkSPORT. I'm Natalie Sawyer, and alongside me is the former Liverpool women's striker and talkSPORT's very own Euro 2025 England reporter Courtney Sweetman-Kirk. We are continuing to bring you reaction to the dramatic breaking news that Daniel Levy has left Spurs after 24 years as their executive chairman. He made the announcement via a statement earlier today. So Spurs fans, how are you feeling about it? Do you think time will shine on his legacy more fondly than it does today and in recent times as well? Why not have your say right now? Give us a call on 03717 223344. And just to let you know, in the final hour of the show, we'll be talking WSL as it returns tomorrow for the new season. We'll have a full preview of the forthcoming year. Then will Chelsea retain their league title, or can Arsenal go from Champions League winners to league title holders once more? And who are the other contenders that we should perhaps be looking out for? There's also the relegation picture to discuss too. We'll get into it in that final hour of the show. So much for us to get through, and as I say, we want to hear from you, so why not give us a call on 03717 223344. So yes, I'm Natalie Sawyer. Pleasure to have you with us this Thursday night, and it is Courtney Sweetman-Kirk who is alongside us. And Courtney, we've had loads of reaction, haven't we, to the Spurs story this evening, and it's kind of had a real mixed bag of reaction.
Yeah, and initially probably more balanced than I appreciated, because I think you listen to a lot of Spurs fans, not just recently, but over the last few years, and it's very much Levy out, where I think in the cold light of day when things like this happen and people have more of a nuanced think about it, it's not just about, the situation of bringing more players in and winning trophies. I mean, of course it is about winning trophies. That's what we all want as fans. But, where he has left the club in terms of what he's done with the training ground, the stadium, financial stability. But then I understand it's a really good point in time now to really go and push on with that.
The end is near.
We haven't won enough. We now need to use that as a springboard to keep winning, because that's what this is all about.
It's my way, mate. That's what we do.
I really feel like we're building something, and what a trophy does is hopefully accelerates that.
Vicario takes it. It's glory, glory, Tottenham Hotspur.
Having won the Europa League, thank you to Ange, you get a taste of it, but it's not enough. We've won 2 trophies in the last 20 plus years.
Very proud to sit in this chair and be part of the next chapter.
Ultimately, the decision is always going to be, it has to rest with me. It's always a collective decision.
I did it my way.
Daniel Levy has today stepped down from his role as executive chairman
after nearly 25 years.
Whether you're a fan of Daniel Levy or not, and there's a lot of Tottenham fans obviously have been quite public in their criticism of him, this is a seismic day for Tottenham because this is the longest serving chairman. Obviously there have been some down moments in that time.
The half is the final that I didn't play with Tottenham.
And some up ones as well.
Tottenham are in the final. It's another English miracle in the Champions League.
Nothing has changed in terms of our ambition. It's always been the case.
Yeah, probably an unpopular opinion for Spurs fans, but I think it's a case of be careful what you wish for.
More, much more than this.
So the announcement came around about 2 hours or so ago, and it took everyone by surprise. Just to pick out some of the main parts from this statement, it said that Tottenham has been transformed over the last quarter of a century. It has played in European competitions in the last 18 of 20 seasons, becoming one of the world's most recognised football clubs, consistently investing in its academy players and facilities, including a new world-class stadium and state-of-the-art training centre. As part of its succession planning, the club has made a number of senior appointments in recent months, including the hiring of a new chief executive, Thomas Frank as the new men's head coach, Martin Ho as the women's head coach, and Peter Charrington joined the board and will step into the newly created role of non-executive chairman. This, they say, is all part of the club's ambition to ensure that it is set up to deliver long-term sporting success. So many of you have been wanting to have your say on this announcement today. So let's get to Phil, the Spurs fan who joins us this Thursday evening. Phil, how are you doing?
Hi, Leslie, how are you?
Very well, thank you, Phil. So we've had, as I said earlier on with Courtney, we've had a real mixed bag of a reaction. I think most of us expected there to be just jubilation because it seemed as though so many fans wanted Levy out. What sort of side were you on when it came to the Levy situation?
So I was always a fan of Daniel Levy. I mean, I totally get and agree with previous callers. Yes, we wanted more trophies. Yes, we wanted more investment, etc., etc. You've seen from the Newcastle owners, they've got a bottomless pit of cash and they've not been able to invest. So it's not always guaranteed that you get a Saudi billionaire and you can just roll out the checkbook and away you go. I would say that, Daniel Levy and the management team have built, everyone agreed, I think all the experts agree that Spurs is the best run club in the league in terms of wage to turnover percentages and best stadium, best training ground, etc. So we are, quite for a takeover, and for that you've got to thank Daniel Levy for that. And I think most clubs would cry out for what Spurs are off the scenes. Now clearly all the other fans and your callers tonight have said, and I agree with, we all want success, we all want trophies, and that's where Daniel has failed. Everything else, you can't, say that he hasn't left Spurs in a better position than what he was when he took over from Alan Sugar. Anyone who says different is deluded.
Yeah, and that's something we've discussed earlier on, Phil, where we were saying about there had been enough investment to get Tottenham to where they're sort of at now, but that investment, it feels, has kind of stagnated in the sense of not being able to push on when you got to the final of the Champions League in 2019, and perhaps even so this summer. I know there were some incomings, but there were a lot of players that you were linked with that it didn't quite materialise.
Yeah, that's agreed. I mean, linked with. I mean, how much are actually reality? But since Arteta's taken over Arsenal, he spent over £1 billion. Chelsea has spent over £1 billion, and there's no guarantee that just throwing a load of money at it. I actually like the way Spurs do it, investing in youth. Another caller mentioned, we should have sold that. We invested in Dele Alli and other players. I'm quite proud of the way Spurs do business. Compared to say what Chelsea do. There's different ways of doing things. Agreed. I don't think there's no point chucking £1 billion at stuff. There's no guarantee of doing stuff or winning things just because you throw. I mean, Arteta, £1 billion he spent in 5 years. £1 billion. And, Chelsea, they've spent £1 billion in 2 years since, what's his name, Todd
Bowley.
So I think, Daniel Levy gets he gets criticism because he always will do because he hasn't won enough. But I'm in finance and I get what he's done. And actually, I think when we look back maybe in 20 years' time, he will probably get more credit than he's getting right now.
Phil, and
my point.
we've spoke about legacy from a point of view of tangibles, but probably Thomas Frank's another one, isn't it? And it's probably a fantastic one to leave. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a Manchester United fan. I would have quite happily had Thomas Frank at Manchester United. So in terms of then that synergy, Thomas Frank's not a manager that's known for going out and spending 100 million. Granted, that's probably because he couldn't at Brentford. But in terms of that legacy that Daniel Levy leaves, how excited are you for that? And what do you think that Thomas Frank can bring to your Spurs?
Yeah, but in Daniel Levy's tenure, how many times has the manager actually really had control over the spend? Pochettino didn't, Marino didn't, etc., etc. So I'm not really sure Thomas Frank will get the purse strings.
Is it a more intelligent appointment, though, because the way that sort of Brentford work in terms of working together in that intelligence and how they recruit? So if that's a way that Spurs want to work, i.e. you could argue then back in the day bringing Jose Mourinho in, a manager that wanted full control, wasn't the best idea. So is it a more intelligent appointment in your opinion with Frank?
I would say he's a bit more PC when it comes to media. He's a lot more. He's probably a bit more on side with the players, etc. But again, we've got a director of football. I'm not sure Thomas Frank will get the checkbook, as what you're saying there. I think that won't change unless, of course, someone comes in and goes, "There you go, Thomas is crack on and where you go." I don't think Thomas has had much say in the players we bought, from what I've seen, and that's been all the way through. Martin Yole didn't have control over players' sales. Pochettino definitely didn't. Andrew Boas didn't, etc. So I'm not sure Thomas Frank appointment is there we go. We've got someone we can trust with the checkbook.
Phil, appreciate the call. Thank you very much for being with us this evening. We've got to get to the Moose, Ian Abrahams, who's keeping across Northern Ireland's first World Cup qualifier. They're in Luxembourg, and there's been another goal.
Luxembourg 1, Northern Ireland 1, an equaliser then for the home side on half an hour. Dardari, his fifth cap and his first goal for his country. Little 1-2 just outside the penalty area, ran along the box from left to right, and when he got to the edge of the D, he fired it into the far corner beyond Peacock Farrell, who, by the way, had already made one really good save. Jamie Reid with the early goal for Northern Ireland, but it's all level now. Luxembourg 1, Northern Ireland 1.
Ian, thank you very much. Next, we'll continue to react to Daniel Levy then, leaving Spurs. A very good evening to you. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT with me, Natalie Sawyer, and former Liverpool women's striker Courtney Sweetman-Kirk. Now, you might want to have a pen and paper handy for this one, because do you want the chance to win £25,000 in cash plus Oasis tickets to their very last show at Wembley on the 27th of September? Well, listen up, because we're giving you the chance with our biggest competition yet. 2 lucky winners, yes, 2 will win a pair of tickets to see Oasis live at Wembley for the last time. But that is not all. Along with those tickets, one of you will walk away with that massive £25,000 in cash. For all the details and how to enter, listen up right now, because you could be one of those lucky winners.
18 plus, UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word Oasis to 83338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission. Or you can enter for free by calling 0330 880 3338. All entries must be received by the 19th of September at 9 a.m. This is a TalkSPORT limited promotion run on TalkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com.
OK, best of luck for that one. Right, let's take you to the cricket, shall we? This second one-day international between England and South Africa. And England with a bit of work to do, Sam Ellard.
Yeah, big moment in this game, a big wicket for South Africa, which once again turns the game in their favour. England 217 for 5. Harry Brook, the England captain, goes for 33. Muthusami, the left-arm spinner, from nowhere for the first real time today, this genuine turn. An extra bounce for the spinner going around the wicket, and Harry Brook is far too early through a shot, and he chips a simple catch to Temba Bavuma, the South Africa captain at cover. South Africa players are jubilant. A big moment in this game, because Butler and Brook were just starting to build a really strong partnership as we enter the final 10 overs of the game. So Brook has to go for 33. Butler's got 37. The new batsman at the crease is Will Jacks. He's not out on 1. England 217 for 5. They need 114 runs from 78 balls.
Sam, thank you very much. Yeah, the first one-day international was a bit of a stroll in the park for South Africa, and their bowlers doing the damage so far against England then, with England needing 114 now then for victory. Let's get back onto the Daniel Levy scenario, and we are trying to get hold of Gus Poyet, we should say, but we're having a few technical difficulties, unfortunately. So fingers crossed we'll still get a hold of him. But Courtney, I suppose one of the things, and we'll get to some more of our callers as well, that should be said that's really interesting, is some of those people that we've heard earlier on who've been speaking to us here on talkSPORT, is be careful what you wish for, and those are the kind of messages that some people have been saying. And as a Manchester United fan, there will be some Spurs fans right now, though, happy with this decision from Daniel Levy to stand down, and may well now be expecting good things to come from Tottenham, maybe new investment, maybe new owners as well. When everything happened with the Glazers and now Ineos as well, were you sort of thinking, especially with the Glazers, that this could be the revolution that we're looking for?
There was a part of me that wanted to believe. I think the fact that it wasn't the Glazers fully giving up the club, I think there was still then that tentative nature with me of thinking, well, you know, how much is Sir Jim Ratcliffe actually going to be in control? How much can he influence? And I suppose there's parallels in there in terms of Daniel Levy came in for a lot of stick, and we forget there's still an owner above him.
Yeah.
So there's also an element of he can only take control of certain situations. Now, there's an argument that certain situations he didn't do too well with, but also there is a directive from the top, and I think that almost gets missed out sometimes with Daniel Levy. So, I mean, Spurs fans will be a lot more well-educated than me with that, but I do think he is the more public forward-facing one, even though he doesn't get involved too much, but I think that's the name on everyone's lips. But yeah, going back to Manchester United, there was still a lack of belief because the Glazers were still involved, and I'm still not sure now where we are, where we go, even though Ruben Amorim's now been in charge for, a considerable amount of time. I still don't see this philosophy. I don't see him moving forward. I don't see why we've not actually gone and broke the bank for someone like a Donnarumma or got Martinez in when obviously it looked like he wanted to leave Aston Villa. That's one of the main issues for me. But, this is the this is the life of a football fan. We always want more, and I grew up in the 90s seeing the best of the best. So
you were spoiled, basically.
Exactly. I appreciate where I've come from and what I've seen. But I think this is what we go down to. The nature of football fans is you always want more. You always want more investment, better players, more trophies. Hopefully this is a fantastic thing for Spurs, and it's a new dawn, and it's a positive to go forward with, and not something that makes them step backwards.
Yeah, I mean, interesting when you talk about the philosophy of Ruben Amorim, which is very stuck in a one-way system, shall we say.
Maybe there was a parallel with Ange Postecoglou as well. I liked him as a manager a lot, and the way he came across, and I suppose it was refreshing in a way, but I get how frustrating it must have been for Spurs fans, and there was times me watching thinking, why are you not changing it? Everyone can see what the issues are. Eventually, he did soften, didn't he, in the end, but maybe a little bit too late.
Yeah, certainly so. But with Thomas Frank now as the head coach, he is a manager that does show versatility and will often mix up his system, his formation, his personnel, dependent on the opposition. And of course, Daniel Levy was very much part of bringing him to Tottenham. And Levy actually spoke to Gary Neville on the Overlap podcast about his legacy at Spurs and said he feels every defeat just as much as any Spurs fan.
Obviously, you have suffered protests in the last sort of 6 months, 8 months. What does that must really dig deep, that the people, obviously, you've been chairman of this club now, owner of this club for 25 years. This is your 25th year. Does it hurt?
Of course it hurts, but their pain is also my pain.
Yeah.
I want to win, and when we're not playing well and we're not winning, believe me, I suffer as well.
Yeah. Does it impact your week? I mean, I know it from a smaller scale, obviously, with Salford, but when you go over on a Saturday night and Tottenham haven't won,
ruins the whole weekend.
And it impacts your home life.
Yeah, it's horrible. You're in this to win.
Yeah.
And when you don't win, it's no fun.
The most difficult part of a football club is the football side. There's no doubt about that. And you said recently that you wanted Tottenham Hotspur to win a Premier League title and a Champions League. You've very rarely gone on record to say that. What's made you come out in the last couple of months and say that and make that quite sort of bold statement? Because there isn't a lot of evidence over the last 20 years of achieving that.
So nothing has changed in terms of our ambition. It's always been the case. I think that, having won the Europa League, thank you to Ange, you get a taste of it, but it's not enough. And it's never been enough. I mean, we've been, I think, in 16 or 17 semi-finals, 7 finals, and we haven't won enough.
That's thanks to the Overlap for letting us use that clip. Really interesting, though, to hear from him there. And actually, within that statement that I brought you earlier on, that Tottenham put out on this announcement, there are quotes from Daniel Levy, where at the end of his little section, he says that how he wants to thank the fans for those that have supported him, he says, over the years. He says it hasn't always been an easy journey, but significant progress has been made. He then says, I will continue to support this club passionately. I mean, nearly 25 years at a club, Courtney. He's going to have some fandom involved in it. He's a fan at the end of the day. He didn't want to see them losing.
Yeah, of course. And he has to realise that his decisions have paid some, dividends to certain situations. Obviously, the one I always think about is the Mourinho before the final, when Mourinho's so good in finals. But, there we are. But it is... When you are involved in football in different capacities, whether it's sort of what we do, whether it's when you're actually a professional footballer, you still have your allegiances, you still have your club. That's something that you grow up as a kid that never leaves you. And to be involved in a club that you've supported all your life must be an incredible thing. But also it must be hard because you're making decisions with a work head on when you want to do it as a passionate fan. Yeah. And that must be so difficult for Daniel Levy. And obviously, I think his minority owner, isn't he, 30-odd%. So there's a lot of decisions to make that he can't make with his heart and he has to make with his head. But I think for me, we go back to it. He's left the club in a very good place, but it's how it gets pushed forward now. How does it go on? How do they get to a point where they're up competing, sort of in that top 6 again? Can you keep getting to Champions League, keep getting to finals? Yes, you can get to finals, but we're talking about, can you go and win one? Premier League's going to be a way off because Liverpool, the signings they've done over the summer has been absolutely unreal. Man City aren't going to go lying down this summer again. Arsenal should be there and thereabouts. So in terms of building towards that, that's probably, if you're going to be realistic, you're probably looking at 6-7 years of hard work, being in the top 4 consistently, being in the Champions League to then go and compete to try and win a Premier League. But you can't say that he doesn't care. of course he cares. He's made some poor decisions, in my opinion, in his tenure. Would I want to do his job, by the way? Absolutely not. But from the outside, he's made some poor decisions. But I always think he's tried to have the best interest in the club at heart. And whether, like I say, that's more from his perspective of a business rather than a fan. Yes. I think that's probably where the issue is lay. But yeah, I think I'd be excited, I think, if I was a Spurs fan, because they're in a good place. They've not been, like, we go back to, I was speaking about Manchester United, when the change happened, we're in a poor place. And it's like, we need to push forward, where actually I think Spurs are in a pretty decent place. And then if you can then add to that someone that wants to come and invest and think about player recruitment a little bit differently and really push on, it could be an exciting time for Spurs.
All right. We'll take more of your calls, see if you're just as excited as Courtney's making out. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT. Pleasure to have your company this Thursday evening. It is me, Natalie Sawyer, along with Courtney Sweetman-Kirk. And it's time for us to bring you an update with what's been happening with Northern Ireland, who are in World Cup qualifying action. It's half-time in their game in Luxembourg. So how did that first half finish up, Ian Abrahams?
All square. Luxembourg 1, Northern Ireland 1. Northern Ireland had on 7 minutes, penalty awarded by VAR. Isaac Price of West Brom, his kick was saved, but Stevenage's Jamie Reid slammed home the rebound. The lead lasted until the half-hour mark, when Dardari, who'd been really dangerous going forward, on his 5th cap, scored his first goal. 1-2, just outside the penalty area, ran to the edge of the box, along it, and then slotted into the far corner. But Northern Ireland so close to being ahead again, right on half-time. Free kick 20 yards out. Crystal Palace's Justin Devaney had the goalkeeper beaten, but it hit the top of the crossbar and went over. So at the break, it's Luxembourg 1, Northern Ireland 1.
Ian, thank you very much. And by the way, in the same group, Germany are in Slovakia. Half-time, it is Slovakia 1, Germany 0. So a shock perhaps already on the cards in the early stages of World Cup qualifying, although another 45 minutes to go. And we should point out that in the lineup for Germany, there is Nick Woltemade, Florian Wirtz also playing for them too, and a couple of Premier League players there to look out for in that Germany lineup. It's also important to see what's going on in this second one-day international with England taking on South Africa. Sam Ellard even is across it for us. Sam?
England 240 for 5, needing 91 runs from 58 balls. So you'd have to say South Africa are favourites going into the final 10 overs. But with Josh Butler at the crease, England have hope. And the former England captain is looking in decent touch. He's not out on 52 from 45 balls. The new batsman at the crease at 7 is Will Jackson, this new role as the England finisher. He did that well in the series against the West Indies earlier on this summer. The 5th wicket to fall was Harry Brook for 33. Earlier on in the England innings, there was a really good healthy partnership between Root and Bethel after a tough start. Root made 61, Bethel made 58. So we're in here for an exciting final hour here at Lords. And again, with Butler of the crease, England will be confident of chasing down these runs. Butler has 52, Jacks has 10, Lungi and Gidi back into the attack. England need 91 runs from 56 balls.
Sam, thank you very much. We'll have more from Sam then throughout. But let's get now to more of your calls. Lots of Spurs fans wanting to react to the news that Daniel Levy is stepping down, or indeed has stepped down, as the Tottenham chairman this evening. So let's get to John. Good evening, John. How are you feeling today?
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you, John. How are you?
Okay. Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, thanks. Just to let you know, from the outset, for me, this is the greatest news that's happened to Spurs for a very, very long time. And I'll say that because I've actually phoned up 2 or 3 times about this. I go back to the beginning of Levy's reign when one of the first things he did was to he sacked George Graham, the guy that won the League Cup with the previous season, just before going back 25 years. Now, I can give you a whole range of what he did after that. He brought in Hoddle, he sacked him after a year. He brought in a guy called Santini, who didn't even know who Bill Nicholson was, sacked him after a year. Brought in Martin Joe, he sacked him during a Europa League game, a UEFA Cup game, during a match at White Hart Lane. And we could go on forever about this. He's ended up sacking 16 managers, including Jose Mourinho, just before the League Cup final. Now, he's imposed a salary cap on wages, players' salaries, the lowest players' salaries ratio to turnover in the Premier League, whilst also having the highest directors' fees and chairman salaries to turnover in the Premier League. And he's basically led Tottenham Hotspur through its worst run of success since the 1940s, because, to give you a bit of history, Tottenham Hotspur were a club that won major trophies every decade from the 1950s to the 2000s, and only Manchester United can equal that feat. And also, Tottenham Hotspur have always been one of the biggest clubs in England for many, many years. Right, okay, so given all that background, I think now it was about he's stayed there far too long. We're a football club, right? But what he's turned us into is nothing more than he's an Enix corporate cash cow, because all these extra millions that are coming in from concerts, from the NFL, from boxing, where is all that money going? Because he still takes the mick in every transfer window. He still has his salary cap, which means that we will never get the genuine world-class players that we would need in order to win lots of things. Now, I'll go back to even the last previous. I mean, just to say, Ange Postecoglou, right, wherever his weaknesses were, he got us our first trophy in 17 years and our first European trophy in 41 years. And then about a fortnight later, he sacked him. I know we had a dreadful run in the league. We've just finished off the relegation spot. But surely, couldn't he just sit back and say, all right, let me give this guy another season. He's got us a trophy now. But no, he sacked him as well. So I think what's happened now, which I've been watching for many times, I honestly thought what would happen would be that Enoch could basically sell up. But I'm a bit surprised it's turned out that he's just stepped down as chairman, and Enoch is still there. So I don't know what your feelings are about this. Personally, I think it's fantastic news for Tottenham Hotspur, and I can only think that hopefully, ideally, we're going to be on the up and up now that he's finally gone. And on top, just to say one final thing, he's the highest paid football chairman on the planet. So that speaks for itself. Don't you think? Am I making lots of points here?
You're making some fantastic points about Levy and his misgivings. I can't get away from that. But let me ask you a question. You mentioned Enoch and the fact that the ownership structure doesn't seem to be, as at the end of the statement says, there are no change to the ownership or shareholder structure at this moment in time. Then are the same issues still going to be repeating themselves?
Yeah, I've got to say that is my one sort of drawback on this. I've got to be honest with you, because I thought what was going to happen eventually was Enoch going to sell up. They're all going to go, including Levy. I didn't think it was going to turn out like this, that Levy would step back and Enoch would still be there. The problem, I agree with what you're saying. If they're going to still be there, I don't know, they're going to put someone else as a chairman. I don't know if it's going to be this other new guy that came. I've got his name now. If he's just going to be another Levy in terms of they're still going to have the players' a salary cap, they're still going to sort of take the mick in every transfer window. We're still going to be, not giving the players that managers want to succeed. We are going to be in the same boat. I sadly have to say, but maybe I've got this such a sort of feeling against Levy. I'm just glad to see the back of him to start off with. You know what I'm saying? Mm. So yeah, I understand your point though. I mean, I'm hoping, to be honest with you, that Enoch are going to set up as well anyway, but whether I don't know if that's going to take place, because everything else on a practical basis, there's a 32-story hotel. European Championships 2028. What's happening with that now? I'm assuming that's still going on. So it's all a bit in the air at the moment. I must admit, we're in a bit of the dark in a minute. Maybe I'm happy because I've seen the back of Levy, but I want more than that. I would prefer, either Enoch to change their stance altogether and have a different approach and treat us as a football club, a great football club, not their corporate cash cow, then I would be happier. But time will have to tell. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
No, John, you've made some very interesting points, I have to say. And I can feel that you've been itching to get on because you've barely taken a breath, but it's been really, really good. So thank you, John, for your call. Really do appreciate it, because we've got to get to Stephen as well, who's been waiting patiently to have his say on this. But John, Stephen, calling it one of the happiest days of his life. Do you agree?
Yeah. I'm over the moon, to be honest. Yeah, John picked. He said a lot of really good points. To be honest, I'm getting a bit annoyed with a lot of the Spurs fans that are calling in saying, "Oh, do you remember the '90s and stuff like that?" And they're comparing it to Alan Sugar, because at the end of the day, Alan Sugar saved. Doing all sorts. So,
well, that's your opinion, Stephen. I've got to say that's your opinion.
Well, no, it was in the news. It was we went to. I mean, it all came out. It was all public knowledge. And anyway, I mean, yeah, Alan Sugar got a lot of hatred for that, and a lot of those Spurs fans that probably love Daniel Levy. And basically, a lot of the stuff that Daniel Levy gets away with. I mean, he's gonna walk away a billionaire. So when Enoch first came into the club, they said this is strictly business. We have no emotion held with Spurs whatsoever. So, in my opinion, when I hear comparisons to Man United, at least the Glazers, they say what they are. Whereas Daniel Levy just lies constantly. He's been lying to the fans all the time. When he has the fan forums, they are carefully picked fans that will not say the questions that he doesn't want to answer because he hates it. He hates public confrontation. That's why he's never in the media, hardly ever. And that thing with Gary Neville was very, very, I can guarantee you that was very much rehearsed, and the questions were probably carefully picked as well. And even when he said about the fan protest, Gary Neville, that was very glossed over. That question was kind of answered with it. It was very laughy. I was actually laughing when I heard the answer and the actual question. The fact that Gary Neville is known as this pundit who's hard hitting, but he showed his true colours there. When the tough gets going, he's nowhere to be seen, Gary Neville, when it comes to those kind of hard-hitting questions.
Well, Stephen, listen, I can tell that you're passionate about this. They are some strong views of yours, and we appreciate you joining us this evening. Thank you. We've got to take a break, unfortunately, because we are running out of time in this part. But look, loads of you been having your say already and wanting to have your say, and hopefully we'll continue to bring you on, and so that you can have your view on the announcement that Daniel Levy is standing down. But I've got to take you to Sam Ellard, because Jos Buttler was certainly putting up a fight for England, but his innings are over.
Yeah, it's a massive moment in this game, and he was looking in good form for his 61. England 256 for 6. He's taking something pretty special from Lungi Ngidi to dismiss Jos Buttler. One of the better slower balls you will see from the big, fast South African pace bowler. It does Jos Buttler all ends up. He doesn't pick it. He gets nowhere near the ball, and he is clean bowled for 61. Fair play to Lungi Ngidi. It is an absolute beauty. And not to be too pessimistic, but it feels with that wicket the game is gone for England. Will Jack's not out on 15. The new batsman at the crease will be Bryden Castle. Massive moment in this game. Jos Buttler bowled for 61. A really, really, really good slower ball from Lungi Ngidi. England 256 for 6. They need 75 runs from 45 balls.
OK, Sam, thank you very much. We've had some real passionate callers already. Plenty of viewers having their own say this evening. And you heard a couple of there having their own opinions on the matter of Daniel Levy. Well, up next, talkSPORT presenter and Spurs fan Majestic will join us to give his reaction to the Daniel Levy news. Good evening. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT with me, Natalie Sawyer, and Courtney Sweetman-Kirk, the former Liverpool striker. Now, at 5:45 this evening, the sporting world, or certainly the Premier League, was shocked by the statement that was put out by Tottenham, which read, Tottenham Hotspur announces that Daniel Levy has today stepped down from his role as executive chairman after nearly 25 years. It went on to explain that over the last quarter of a century, the club has transformed under him. It has played in European competitions in the last 18 of 20 seasons, become one of the world's most recognised football clubs, consistently investing in its academy, players and facilities, including a new world-class stadium and state-of-the-art training centre. It also went on to say, with the new faces in place at the club, including a new chief executive officer, Thomas Frank, as the new men's head coach, Martin Ho as the women's head coach, as well as Peter Charrington, who has joined the board and will step into the newly created role of non-executive chairman. The statement said this is all part of the club's ambition to ensure that it is set up to deliver long-term sporting success. And at the end, they said there are no changes to the ownership or shareholder structure of the club, despite the decision of Daniel Levy to stand down as the executive chairman. Right, we will get more on this in just a moment, but let's get to Ian Abrahams, who's keeping across the World Cup qualifiers that are taking place, and check in with what's happening with Northern Ireland, where there's been another goal for them in Luxembourg.
There has. What a half-time team talk it must have been from Michael O'Neill. Luxembourg 1, Northern Ireland 2. 30 seconds into the second half, and Shea Charles of Sheffield Wednesday, ball broke him just on the edge of the penalty area. He curled it in. I may well have taken the deflection as well. His first international goal, and Ireland, Northern Ireland, are back in front. Luxembourg 1, Northern Ireland 2.
Ian, thank you very much. And as I was saying, in that same group, Germany are losing currently in Slovakia by 1-0. Early stages, though, in that World Cup qualifying group as they've just begun. Right, let's get more on the Daniel Levy situation, shall we? And speak to a Spurs fan and familiar voice on the final word here on talkSPORT. It's Majestic who joins us. How you doing, Madge?
Good evening, you okay?
Yeah, we're all right. We've had some really interesting reaction to this news, really mixed. So I suppose I need to know, are you in the Daniel Levy in or Daniel Levy out campaign?
I was in the Daniel Levy out because I think we got to a place with Daniel Levy where the club has gone as far as it could go. And, you know, where Spurs were operating in terms of where we finished, and obviously last year winning the trophy was great, but the league position was obviously not acceptable. But, you know, we've been a oh-so-nearly club, and we've had the whole tag of Spursy. And I think the one criticism that can be given to Daniel Levy in his tenure of Tottenham is never getting it over the line. So there was always, like, Jamie O'Hara mentioned it on Drive earlier, there was talk of us getting Eden Hazard once upon a time, or I think we could have got Jack Grealish from Villa for like £7 million, and we wouldn't want to pay extra. We tried to give like Josh Onomer at the same time. All these little things that could have been, that's another key player in the puzzle. It just didn't get done. In terms of the structure of the business and what he's done for the football club, it's been superb. And I know there's a lot of people out there who've criticised him and, it's not good enough. But what he's left behind, the foundations that he created of a football club in London, for somebody to come in now and take it to the next step is really exciting as Spurs fans. And I feel that, I just feel like there's a sense of freedom this evening that we feel, because even the way that we're talking about him leaving the club and stepping down, there's not that many chairmen and, chair people in the Premier League that would have such a, they've left the club as Daniel Levy, because he's been so involved in the day-to-day running. And we saw that from the documentary that was on Amazon as well. And I think that's perhaps where his downfall was. He wanted to control every piece of the puzzle, where in fact, everyone says the best leaders are able to delegate jobs.
Imagine going off that then, and you've left me in a great place to ask this question in terms of where they go now. Obviously, we've looked at the statement, different roles, and Peter Charrington coming in the newly created non-executive chairman role. If they are to replace Daniel Levy as an executive chairman, for example, with Enoch still in place, is there the ability to go and run the football club in a different way, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that, even I was watching Lange's interview the other day after the transfer window, and even the way we've operated in this transfer window, bringing in starters, makes me feel like that wasn't necessarily Daniel's doing, and this kind of him stepping down has been in the works for a while. And I feel that people can just get on with their jobs. We all know what it's like when you're in a workplace and someone nitpicks every little part of it, and you're like, can I just get on with it? I know what I'm doing. It stifles the creativity of those people that are experts in those fields.
I thought you were going to drop a TalkSport name there, someone from behind the glass.
No, we got a great team up there. But I feel it's really exciting. But the fact of the matter is, you just can't. You've got to be logical, and you can't say good riddance to someone that has turned Spurs into this, worldwide brand. And whether other clubs like it or not, and the banter, Spurs are a top 6 club, factual. You look at the numbers and stuff like that. Then you look at the revenue and you look at the sustainability of it in terms of a business model in this day and age. And we're seeing so many football clubs, up and down the leagues in turmoil. The way that he's run the football club, sustained it, and we've got so close. After that success last season with the trophy, I feel that there's this appetite and it's all built up there. You know what it is? He set us all up to have this lovely stadium, the facilities, etc. If that's then not replicated on the pitch, then it's all for nothing.
I suppose that's it at the end of the day. The fact that he brought financial stability and security for Tottenham, but it's all very well. That's his legacy as a businessman. But as a football fan, which he alluded to being, certainly as a Tottenham fan, he hasn't brought that success that you've all been wanting for so very, very long in terms of, yes, 2 trophies, but it took a while for you to win that second trophy. And also you kind of wanted more of that. It's quite obvious.
You just look at the players that have passed through Tottenham in the last 20 years during his tenure, from Luka Modric to Gareth Bale, Dimitar Berbatov. The names are, when you do sort of my lifetime Spurs 11, they're unbelievable. And it's just, there's always little pieces of the puzzle that are missing. To think that we didn't win anything under Poch is ridiculous, because again, even at that time, it was like, we got a great start in 11, but the squad was thin. And we didn't know how to improve that, because again, the way the wage structure was, you don't have the ability to bring those players in and give them the money that they want to do. That's why every time we'd come up against someone, it's a no-brainer. They're going to go somewhere else. They're going to get better wages and go to bigger clubs. And, I know as well, we've got a bit of sort of Arsenal blood in the ranks now with Vanai. And, I think the way that they transferred Arsenal in the last few years, I know people say they haven't won anything, but the way that they're competing at the top level has been brilliant for the last 5-6 years. I think the fact that Arsenal went out and bought Declan Rice, they make statement signings over the last couple of years is why they're competing, and that's exactly what Spurs need to do. And then you look around us as well. I was at the game on Saturday against Bournemouth. They've got players like Semenyo that they've signed a new deal with. The Premier League is getting harder and harder, and to try and compete at the top end of it is going to take a new style of leadership, because the way it's done with Spurs, I always feel like Daniel Levy always felt like the guy in Las Vegas at the playing blackjack or something, and he's always found another $10 to go again. And it's like every time he'd go again, finally something would happen. And that was like, for me, the Europa League win was his last roll of the dice. He got it right. He walks away. And for him personally, he's built an incredible business, and he can walk away feeling, well, my last outing, I won a trophy and I've set that club up to be incredible. Yeah. Because I do remember the days of being a kid and, there was protests for sugar out and all that kind of stuff. So I do remember those days where we're getting deducted points.
Madge, thank you for being with us. I'm sure
Thanks,
you'll be
guys.
on Sunday and you'll be reflecting more.
Yeah, we're doing a special Inside Spurs podcast as well now. That's why I'm ready to go.
Oh, there you go. Well, enjoy it. We'll look forward to hearing that as well. Madge, thank you very much. The Sports File, of course, will continue to reflect the huge news from 10 o'clock with the former Spurs midfielder Jamie O'Hara and former Spurs defender Jason Cundy. I'm sure both of them will have a lot to say on what is next for Spurs. But coming up in the final hour of Kickoff, we're going to have a full preview of the new season of the WSL, which kicks off tomorrow.
Tyson Fury, Floyd Mayweather, Canelo Alvarez. Just hearing these names makes you think money and the hundreds of millions of dollars, pounds or Saudi riyals in boxing. But that's at the top. At the bottom, it isn't quite the same. Even for those on the rise, there's not an awful lot of cash in the boxing world. And if you're just starting out, well, it can be a very costly exercise indeed. But don't take my word for it. Here's the former European champion, talkSPORT's Spencer Oliver.
You're turning professional and you're boxing, let's say, York Hall on a non-televised fight. You have to sell tickets to earn any money, but you have to cover the wages of your opponent as well. So if you don't have the ability to be able to sell enough tickets, you effectively have to pay to fight.
A far cry then from Jake Paul facing Mike Tyson in 2024, when the purse was reported to be around £48 million. But the vast amounts of cash lining the top dog's pockets isn't the norm in a typical fight.
Let's say you're lucky and you get between 5 and 10 grand. You're going to get 10 grand max for that. 10% goes to the trainer, 25% goes to the manager. Then we've got the tax man to pay as well. So we're cutting that money in at least half. So now you've got 5 grand for a 10-week camp. So you're talking about a guy here earning, he might be clearing 500 quid a week. How do you support a family on that? So boxers chase the dream. And, you know, there's probably 2% of them that actually make it.
So say you do make it and you start to rise up the ranks. Strikers Boxing, a training academy, says the mid-tier fighters can earn more, somewhere between £10,000 and £50,000 a fight, depending on record, profile, opponent and popularity of weight class. It's only at the top level does the real cash start flowing in, with the top-tier professionals, i.e. those going for titles, earning 6 figures a fight. Something else you'll have heard of is the terms prize fighter or journeyman. A prize fighter is, as it sounds, someone who picks up fights where they can and gets a nice big check if they win. Journeymen are the fighters who take on up-and-comers, effectively used for experience in the ring. Even if they're going up against the real prospects, a young Anthony Joshua, for example, these guys will be lucky to earn more than 10 grand. So the average boxer isn't as rich as you'd think.
Good evening. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT. I'm Natalie Sawyer, and with me it is the former Sheffield United striker, Courtney Sweetman-Kirk. By the way, before we get into the start of the WSL season, just got to highlight what's going on with Germany, who are in World Cup qualifying action right now. They're in Slovakia. They were 1-0 down at half-time. It's now 2-0 to Slovakia, so things not quite going to plan for Julian Nagelsmann and his Germany side so far. It's time for us to take a look at the latest footballing action with Ladbrokes.
The Big Preview on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. 18+ gambleaware.org.
Now, talkSPORT is delighted to announce a new 3-year partnership with WSL Football. Following the success of talkSPORT's coverage of the UEFA Women's Euro 2025 this summer, talkSPORT is upping its broadcast offering of the WSL with 16 games across the season live on the network ahead of the season kicking off this weekend. Every club in the WSL will be represented, I should say, with 2 live interviews per club per season on key talkSPORT shows, on air and in vision. And you'll be able to tune into the women's football show The Kickback, which is hosted by our very own Shabana Hearn, along with her sister, who the Irish football international, Ruisha Littlejohn. And then we'll have guests from the WSL featuring on talkSPORT's Women's Football Weekly podcast. So lots coming your way this season in what is expected to be a really exciting season too. It gets underway tomorrow night as the champions Chelsea host Manchester City. It'll be live on talkSPORT 2.
Oh my goodness! What a penalty kick! You better believe it! Football is coming home again! Sweetman-Kirk from the angle with the shot, and it flashes into the back of the net, and Chelsea get their inevitable goal.
She might shoot from distance. I don't think she's going to beat Lucy Bronze now. She does! It's into the bottom corner!
Russo with a shot into the back of the net, and Arsenal lead after 1 minute and 6 seconds. What a start to the North London derby.
This WSL season is going to be more competitive than ever.
Me gets to it, and Durang is there. Can she put it in? She's done!
We are excited for it. We're just going to have to pause it, though, for a moment because there's been another wicket. Sam Ellard.
Yeah, unfortunately now I think that's going to be game over. England 290 for 8 and Will Jacks goes for 39. It's a full toss from Andre Berger. Will Jacks moving across his stumps, looking to work the ball into the leg side, takes a big thick outside edge and is caught at short third man. So Archer and Rashid come together with a lot of work to do. England need 41 runs from 19 balls.
Sam, thank you very much. Yeah, does feel like a tall order then for England. But let's get straight back to the WSL and Courtney, straight to it really. How much are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, absolutely buzzing. I think I heard my voice in there, which I always hate hearing my voice back.
We all do. We all have this weird thing about it.
Saying it's going to be the most competitive WSL season ever. And I believe that. I think looking at some of the business that especially Arsenal have done, I think we'll probably get on to who I think is going to obviously go and win it. But Arsenal, I think, are going to be right up there. I really do. I think the fact that they've kept Chloe Kelly on a permanent signing now, obviously the massive world record signing as it was with Olivia Smith. Apparently, if we believe rumours to be true, Chelsea might go and beat that with Alyssa Thompson before the window closes. But yeah, it's I think the push from the Euros has been massive. I think we saw it obviously when we won it here on home soil. But again, that I think I felt it as well being out in Switzerland, but still the coverage that obviously we gave everyone, but then the interaction that we were getting from everyone back home as well was absolutely incredible. I think then when you see it, when you come home and you're turning your telly on and you're seeing the girls on all the sort of main channels and obviously the sort of the big television shows being interviewed, and rightly so.
The parade and the thousands of fans that turned up for it, incredible.
Yeah, and just to be there with talkSPORT, to witness it, to be at the parade and see everyone lined down the mall as they're coming down on the bus, it was incredible. So hopefully, and I'm sure it will, that'll push on through to this season. Obviously, it's not just the Lionesses as well. I think obviously very well represented in terms of European footballers here in the WSL. So not just the Lionesses that have obviously gone and won, but so many players that played in or are still playing or have come to the WSL, played in the Euros as well.
I mean, just going back onto that parade, like you were just referring to, being there and seeing the thousands and thousands of fans and just seeing the reaction to that, you know, the fact that the Lionesses defended their title, which is never an easy thing to do for any nation, really. It clearly shows the demand is there. The demand and want for women's football is just growing and growing. We know that. We hear about it all the time, how it's one of the most popular sports in terms of growth. But that's clearly impacted as well the thinking of the WSL, because this is the final season of it being just 12 teams. Because as of next season, we're going to have 14 teams. And there's going to be a slight change in how the promotion relegation picture is going to look as well.
Yeah, and I think that was important. I think being involved in a game is something when I was still playing that we wanted. I think, I'll be honest, the FA did a lot of great things with the WSL, but I think that's something that they really missed the boat on, not expanding it more quickly. And I think, obviously, with London City Lionesses, for example, they've invested so well, so they're not going to struggle. My worry is, through the years, the gap has got bigger and bigger. But hopefully, again, with the sort of the things that have been put in place with the minimum salaries for WSL2 as well, that will join that gap again. But as I mentioned, glad it's happening now, because I think that should have been done many years ago. But as you say, because of that appetite, because of Chelsea winning it for the last 6 seasons, deservedly so, by the way. I'm not saying they didn't deserve that, but I think for the league to be competitive, there needs to be more jeopardy. And by adding more teams in, that will add more jeopardy both at the top and the bottom of the league.
And also, you alluded to it there with what Arsenal achieved, like the Champions League as well, and they'll be looking at the WSL this season as, you know, it's been a while since they've won the league title, so they'll be looking at this as a really important season for them to kick on and sort of harness what they achieved in Europe by doing something similar in the Women's Super League. And when you consider Chelsea won the title, 12 points I think they finished the season clear, what we want to see is a competitive WSL.
Of course we do, and I was actually in Lisbon, so seeing Arsenal lift that trophy. I actually managed to blag myself down pitch side afterwards as well, so that was quite fun. But no, to sort of be a part...
all the places to be.
And to be honest, I just walk in and hope for the best and hope I don't get kicked out, and it's been working quite well for me so far. But that's how I got in the studio. But no, to see them do that, that should give them that massive push. The fact that if we're, it's not short, is it? It's 11.
Yeah.
But I think Beth Mead is staying put. So I think that's important. As I say, Olivia Smith coming in, getting Chloe Kelly on a permanent. Already got a obviously fantastic team. They've got a player in. I know she's obviously not necessarily fully fit now, but I think getting her, Leah Williamson, fully fit back from her ACL and playing at her full capacity, I think it was massive. So the sooner they get her back, the better. But I think for me, Arsenal are the challengers. Arsenal are the ones that if anyone's going to do it and knock Chelsea off their perch, which is going to be no mean feat, by the way, it'll be Arsenal.
All right. We'll get more on this and talk plenty more, especially about the London City Lionesses, because I think they're going to be really interesting to look out for. Bear in mind, they're the first team that's not going to be affiliated to a men's side coming up into the WSL, and there's huge investment behind them as well. There has been another goal for Ian Abrahams as he's watching Luxembourg against Northern Ireland.
Another goal and a sending off. 19 minutes to go. Luxembourg 1, Northern Ireland 3. The sending off came on 65 minutes. Korach for a foul on Jamie Reid. I have to say, I watched it several times. Didn't really look a whole lot in it. Second yellow card, though, given. VAR checked it, and it was a second yellow card. So a sending off. It took 5 minutes to sort it all out. And when the free kick was taken, it fell to Justin Devaney of Crystal Palace, 7 yards out, left-hand side of the penalty area, and he fired home his first international goal. So just like Shay Charles in the second half, off and running. Callum Marshall of West Ham has come on, but Northern Ireland, bearing in mind they go to Germany on Sunday and they're losing tonight in Serbia, Northern Ireland looking good now. Luxembourg 1, Northern Ireland 3.
Ian, thank you very much. So Northern Ireland's early stages, of course, topping the group. But Slovakia, in fact, that Germany are losing to. They're level on the same points with them with the 2-0 lead that they have. And Germany currently propping up Group A as things stand. But it's just one game apiece for everybody involved in that one. Now, we'll continue to look ahead to the start of this new WSL season. We want to know who you think is going to win it. Can Chelsea be beaten? Who is the realistic challengers to them? Or is it going to be more than a two-horse race? Why not give us a call on 03717 223344 or text us to 81089 and let us know what you think. That was the big preview. Thanks to Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over. BeGambleAware.org.
The big preview on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Good evening. This is Kickoff, and it is a pleasure to have your company. But I tend to default to Liverpool, but there's a few others too. We should remind you that it is the WSL transfer deadline day, with the window closing at 11 p.m. tonight. So not long really for clubs to finalise their squads ahead of the new season kicking off. And it must be said that, I don't know, we talked about it before we came on air, the fact that it does seem more appropriate that the window shuts before the season starts, just so you kind of know the lay of the land, really.
Yeah, I think it makes everyone's lives a little bit easier. I think if you're Manchester United employee right now, probably not thinking the same with Grace Clinton obviously just announcing on her Instagram she's left. So obviously there's still a few that will go down to the wire, and it makes it complicated, especially when you've got a Friday night game. And as I believe it, there's sort of, I think that had to be done earlier in the day if if you're allowed to obviously play tomorrow. But still, I think just knowing where you're at for a manager's sake more, and for a player, because I've been there on deadline day when you're driving up the motorway and you don't know where you're at, where you might be living in the next couple of days. So knowing where you're at before the season starts is always a bonus.
It does sound like a bit handy anyway, just so you know we can leave your kit at the end of the day. Right, as I say, it is deadline day, so lots of deals and moves taking place today, and of course across the whole of the summer. So for a sort of run through of what's happened, here's talkSPORT's Uma Gurav.
The WSL transfer window slams shut tonight at 11 p.m, but it's already been a jam-packed summer of super signings. It's been a long time coming, but Olivia Smith became the first £1 million women's footballer when she made the move from Liverpool to Arsenal. Speaking of the Gunners, they've also nabbed defender Taylor Hines from the Reds, and they've tied down Chloe Kelly in a permanent deal. As for the defending champions Chelsea, they hardly needed any more talent, but one signing to watch is Ellie Carpenter, the right-back who joins from Lyon. Up in Manchester, United have certainly made some waves. Winger Fridolina Rolfo joins from Barca in maybe the most surprising deal of the summer, and her country teammate Giulia Zighiotti-Olmo joins from Bayern. Across the road, City have signed a fair few reinforcements too, including Sydney Lohmann. She's perhaps best known for being the German player that Jill Scott swore at in the Euro 2022 final, but she wants to change that. So what about the best of the rest? Well, Brighton have re-signed Euros hero Michelle Adjumang on loan from the Gunners, and Villa have bought in former England keeper Ellie Roebuck, who has been on a long road to recovery after she suffered a stroke. Everton have bought in England midfielder Ruby Mace for what is a club record fee, and the two clubs who maybe have the most reason to worry this season, Liverpool and Leicester, have both made key deadline day signings. The Reds have signed young Swedish striker Beata Olsson, possibly to replace Olivia Smith, and the Foxes have bought in Australian midfielder Emily Van Egmond today to help them out. But the winners of the transfer window by far have got to be the new kids on the block. London City Lionesses have not been messing around. Their signings include Daniela van der Donk, Alana Kennedy and ex-Man United captain Katie Zellem. This team definitely want to avoid the trend of teams who get relegated straight after their promotion. Still a few hours for things to happen, but it's fair to say there's going to be a whole lot of new talent that could seriously shake up the league this season.
Uma, thank you for that roundup. And it does look as though that world transfer record fee could be broken once more. You alluded to it earlier on. You mentioned Alyssa Thompson, although it's not signed and sealed, and certainly Chelsea haven't come out and said this, but there are reports now saying it is done and that it could be a world record fee passing that £1 million fee that we heard about with Olivia Smith's move from Liverpool to Arsenal. Add-ons will be why this will go beyond that £1 million fee that we've already talked about. But I mean, when you're talking about £1 million, anyone that follows the men's game will just think, well, that's just ridiculous. But it just, again, goes to show how quickly this game is growing, that we're now seeing the records break time and time again.
Yeah, you mentioned to get that £1 million signing was, I think, a big one. And as you say, comparatively to the men's game, appreciate it's not a lot of money, but I don't like comparing the men's and the women's game. Go and enjoy them both. But yeah, the fact that then it's been potentially looks like it's going to be broken so quickly, it shows the fact that there's investment in the women's game. Obviously, we're going to come on to London City Lionesses, but Michelle Kang, obviously the amount of money she's investing is incredible. And the fact that I think we're seeing that it's more commercially viable. There's two sides to it. I think clubs are being better at not just relying on the men's side. And I think that's important, that because for a period of time they did do that. And I don't think that's necessarily right either. So Arsenal, I think, are given a fantastic blueprint at the moment commercially how to do it. Fill the Emirates, sell the shirts. They're doing a great job at doing that, as well as then the outside stuff of those commercial benefits, working with partnerships and the new sort of WSL runners, the NUCO who run it now. I think they're doing a lot better job commercially, and that's not against the FA, but they're used to the FA running international squads and working for development and grassroots rather than those commercial things. So I think there's a lot of little bits at play, but obviously, like we mentioned, the girls, the Lionesses winning the Euros, the commercialism changing in the game, the fact that unbelievably, Arsenal were the first to have their separate marketing department, or at least a separate strategy for the women's side. It was normally just mirrored with a lesser budget. So I think now everyone's cottoning on to the fact if you do it properly, there is money to be made, and we're seeing that now.
And you're right to mention the stadium, how important it is for Arsenal to be playing at the Emirates, like you've mentioned. We're seeing a lot of the teams coming into this new season certainly not playing all their games, but a lot of them are going to be playing. For example, Chelsea are going to be playing at
Everton's a big
Stamford
one to mention as well.
at Goodison, and that will be their home, which is a wonderful sort of legacy, if you like, for the men's team to leave them, Goodison. But with regards to like Chelsea, for example, and I know they don't need necessarily much help when you talk about their successes and the fact that you'd like to think that playing at Stamford Bridge, they will get a lot of new fans and the familiar faces going there, but they're selling something called a Bridge Pass for the 4 games that they're having at Stamford Bridge, so you're getting your money's worth. You're getting to see Man City, the London City Lionesses, Arsenal and Manchester United involved in those games, and that's clearly, again, marketing, thinking the bigger picture here, and trying to make it in the sense of, if you can buy a ticket for this game, if you buy this, and it becomes a bridge, it becomes a pass, and you get a better deal for it, and that's what we need to be seeing in the
it is. And look, obviously being involved in a women's game, I'm a big advocate for it to be pushed forward, but also doing it in the right way. And I think for me, there's the reason why we are where we are in terms of the fact that football was banned for 50 years and we're at that little bit of a deficit. So I think we need to understand those reasons as to why we are there. But then, as I mentioned, it's also on the clubs when they get it to a position not to necessarily go with their begging bowls to the men's side and say we need X, Y and Z. It's about as well working in unison. And for me, it was always about how you're meant to feel in the club. The money was one thing, but it was the resources that you were shared. And when you walked into the men's training ground, were you made to feel welcome? I think that's a massive thing. And a lot of that is now you see, especially with Arsenal. Again, you think I'm an Arsenal fan, I'm not, but just the synergy that seems to happen at that club with all sets of players, the marketing campaigns, how they're all working together, and the social media, everything. So I think that's something for me that's been really pleasing. And like I say, the fact now that the game's starting to stand on its own 2 feet, and I suppose London City Lionesses and Michelle Kang is sort of the biggest example of that right now.
Indeed. Look, we'll get more from Courtney on what she expects to come in this new season. But we've got to take you to Lords because it is all over in that second ODI. Sam Ellard.
Yeah, really good game of cricket comes to an end. England falling short by just 5 runs. So South Africa win the second match in the series and seal the series win. They're 2 up with 1 to play. The final stages came down to Jofra Archer. He's pretty decent with the bat and he played a pretty decent knock. 27 not out. He finishes on from 14 balls. But in the end, England just falling short. England needed 27 runs from the final 2 overs. There was a 6 shot off the left arm seaman Andre Berger. He did hit a couple of boundaries in the final over, but in the end it was too little too late, and Jofra Archer couldn't get England over the line. Lots of England batsmen got in, but they needed one of their key batsmen to go big, and they didn't happen. So South Africa batted first and made 330 for 8. Smith and Duckett both got out cheaply. Root and Bethel came to the crease together, put on over 100 runs for the 3rd wicket partnership. Root made 61, Bethel made 58, but both batsmen got out in quick succession. Then Brook and Butler put on a decent partnership. Butler made 61, Brook made 33, but then once again both recognised batsmen got out in quick succession. There was a nice cameo from Will Jacks. He made 39, but again when it looked like England were perhaps getting on top and could get over the line, South Africa kept on at key moments, fighting back via picking up wickets. Jacks out for 39, as I mentioned. Jofra Archer with a good effort at the end there, 27 from 14, but England fall short, and their really poor record in this format continues. They've lost 21 of the last 31 one-day international matches. Simply not good enough. South Africa really good in particular with the bat. England lose, and they lose the series. South Africa win the second ODI by 5 runs. They're 2 up in the series. The final match is this Sunday.
Sam, thank you very much. Now, just to let you know, this Saturday, rising Brit and Olympic silver medalist Pat McCormack faces the seasoned Mexican Miguel Parra for the WBA Intercontinental Welterweight title showdown, which you can watch only on DAZN.
Boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
OK, up next, we will discuss the runners and riders for the WSL title, but also a reminder for you, after 10 o'clock, Jason Cundy and Jamie O'Hara will continue to discuss the big breaking news that Daniel Levy has stepped down as the executive chairman of Spurs, so why not get your calls into them? I'm sure they're looking forward to hearing from you. 03717 2233 44. You're tuning in to Kick-Off on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over, begambleaware.org. Good evening. This is Kick-Off right here on talkSPORT this Thursday evening. I'm Natalie Sawyer and it's Courtney Sweetman-Kirk, the former Sheffield United striker, who is with me this evening. And we are very much focusing on the start of the WSL season, which gets underway tomorrow with a blockbuster of a fixture as well at Stamford Bridge as Chelsea take on Manchester City. Chelsea 6 times in a row they have won the WSL. Sonia Bombasta's first season in charge led to a domestic treble. And it does, of course, mean that many are suggesting they can go and win it for a 7th time because they were so dominant in England last season. So we're going to talk about the title favourites, Courtney, and get your thoughts on it all. But before that, Arsenal managed to do something that Chelsea couldn't do last season, despite their own achievements, and that was, of course, winning Europe in the Champions League this season. Can they end Chelsea's dominance domestically? Well, here is Arsenal fan and Arsenal Humans podcaster and talkSPORT's own Lucy Casey with her hopes for the new season.
Hey, it's Luce from the Arsenal Humans podcast. I'm honestly so excited to see Arsenal back in WSL action this Saturday as they face the London City Lionesses. Obviously, we know that's a new side to the league, so it's quite unpredictable, so we've got to keep a close eye on them. Other teams to look out for as well. Obviously, we've got Chelsea looking to get their 7th WSL title in a row. Then obviously City and United looking to build on from what they've been creating the last few seasons. But for me, this is Arsenal's year. And honestly, there's so many reasons why I think this, but the main one is the intent and how serious we're taking it. Just look at our summer signings. We've got Olivia Smith, a record-breaking fee for £1 million. We've also got Chloe Kelly, who was on loan last season, but now she's permanent this year where she belongs. And we've got squad depth building with Hines and Borb. So I'm so excited to see these players under Slagers. And to be honest, I think that is the main difference from last season to this season. We've got Slagers from the get-go, which can only be a good thing because there was so much controversy and so much unease with the fans and outrage that now it seems calmer. We know that Slagers is successful and we know that she knows what players to put ahead of other players. Statistically, DVD works better ahead of Zinsberger, and also Slagers isn't shy from experimenting with different attacking players, and she's got a lot of options this year to work with. But if this hasn't convinced you just yet, let me say the small detail of the Champions League. That's obviously something that no other WSL club can say they've won, and we've won it twice, in 2007 and obviously a few months ago in 2025. So I think that just puts us above the rest and also shows that yes, we were the underdogs entering that final against Barcelona, but we came out on top. So honestly, nothing is impossible right now. I'm so excited about the season, and to be honest, as Steph Catley put it, there's really no excuses.
Well, that is a very passionate sort of statement there from Lucy as to why she thinks her beloved Arsenal will win the WSL. But it's been 6 years since they've done it. Do you think they can? Are they the realistic title contenders, or is there anyone else we should be considering?
I think they can. I don't think they will. I still think it's Chelsea. I'll give my reasons for that shortly. But look, I like Arsenal. I like the way they play. The fact that, the way that they went and won the Champions League, there was a lot of uncertainty at the start of the season. But the way Renée Slagers has come in, she's so chilled out. And even still uncertainty with her to a degree, because initially, I think she was interim. She wasn't given the job until the end of the season. Then I think it got to about Christmas, January time, and then she was given it till the end of the season. So I think she's done a fantastic job. But I just like the Arsenal style of play more. So, look, Chelsea gets results. I'm not knocking it. But watching an Arsenal at full flight, there's nothing like it, I don't think. The fact that they've got Chloe Kelly back, and there's a little bit of a bias from me. I've played with Chloe. I've got a lot of time for Chloe. But to see her playing with a smile on her face, having the influence she did, both at the Euros and for Arsenal, has been incredible. So I think they are the nearest challengers. Taylor Hines as well is one that's gone under the radar. Very, very good player. Wonderful wand of a left foot. One of the best 1v1 defenders I've played with and against. So her being sort of back home, as it were, where she started, I think is a signing that's gone under the radar. But Chelsea, for me, they are a juggernaut. They are relentless. And make no bones about it, they bought Sonia Bonpastor in because she's done it as a player and a manager to win the Champions League. So that's what she wants. That is in her mind's eye. And they want to take all the other 3 trophies as well as the Champions League. And the way that, they've strengthened again, looking to strengthen more, the depth that they've already got. And I think that's the difference for me between Man City, Chelsea and Arsenal. Arsenal have a fantastic 11, 12, 13. They've not got the same amount of depth, I think, that Chelsea have got. And that might be telling back end of the season.
But then again, you look at Chelsea. They won, as we said already, the domestic treble. The Champions League has eluded them. They've reached the semi-final stage the last 3 years, but fallen at that hurdle. What makes you think they could possibly get it done this time around? Bear in mind, it's very hard to win a treble, let alone a quadruple.
They'll have a Sam Kerr back. 625 days, I believe. Obviously, it's going to take her time, but getting her back is massive for me. I think Lauren James being back to her best. She didn't play the first part of the season. Obviously missed a lot of the back end. Thought she was very, very good in spells at the Euros. And also, what we're sort of not taking into account that will help all the English sides, not just Chelsea, is the downfall of Barcelona at the minute. The fact that obviously the financial issues that the men's team are having is then going sort of trickling down to them, and they've basically been raided, for want of a better phrase, for some of their players that we've obviously seen income into the WSL. So Barcelona are nowhere near as strong a team as they have been in the past. So I think both Chelsea and Arsenal are looking at that, rubbing their hands together a little bit, thinking, you know what, this could be another year for an English team to win the Champions League.
Let's just interrupt this for a moment and bring you the full-time score from Luxembourg, where Northern Ireland were kicking off their World Cup qualifying campaign. Ian Abrahams.
And they've won. Luxembourg 1, Northern Ireland 3. Jamie Reid got the opening goal after Isaac Price's 7th-minute penalty was saved. That given by VAR. Reid's goal then putting Northern Ireland ahead, but they had only led to the half-hour mark. Deidari from 18 yards in his 5th cap, scoring his first goal for Luxembourg. The second half, though, all Northern Ireland. 30 seconds in, Shay Charles from the edge of the area with his first international goal. And after Korac had been sent off for a second yellow card, Justin Devaney of Crystal Palace fired in his first international goal from 7 yards out. Slovakia beat Germany in the other game. Northern Ireland go to Cologne on Sunday to face the Germans, and they'll go there in good spirits. Northern Ireland 1 here, Luxembourg 1, Northern Ireland 3.
Ian, thank you very much. And Germany did lose their opener to Slovakia 2-0. So they are bottom of Group A after just one game. So early stages in that qualifying group. Let's take you back to the WSL, and in particular Chelsea, who we've just been discussing there. They have dominated domestically over the last few years, certainly in the WSL. And last season in particular, as they won that treble, going the whole season unbeaten as well and winning it by 12 points from Arsenal. This season, the Chelsea head coach, Sonia Bonpastor, is demanding even higher standards from her side, as she told talkSPORT's Angelina Kelly.
Yeah, hopefully starting this new season we want to keep this winning mentality. Our expectations are high. I think our goals are high. We want to compete in every competitions. We know starting the season we have these 4 competitions with 4 trophies again. So we want to make sure we are able to compete in each of them. Will be difficult as it was last season, so we expect that, but really excited to start the new season. And as you just mentioned, I think I am probably in a better position this summer compared to last summer, because I think for the club it was a transitional period last summer, and I feel I am in a better place. I know more about the club, I know more about the environment, my players, my staff, and I think we went more deep in details this summer rather than last summer, where I needed to be really efficient and just approach what was the most important for us. Again, it doesn't guarantee any trophy, but you work more with quality doing that. And again, I think last year we were really good on winning trophies. So I just want to make sure we focus a little bit more this season on our performances.
The Champions League is the only trophy kind of left missing from the Chelsea cabinet. Is that a focus for you this season?
I think every manager, every player wants to compete in that competition, the Champions League. That's the most beautiful competition for a club. I wouldn't say I will prioritize that competition, comparing the competition to the 3 other ones. I think every trophy is important, and I want to make sure we are able to compete in every competition. But for sure, if you look at our history, if you look at our trophies, the one who is missing is the Champions League. So we are really excited again to start and kick off in this new competition, but we want to make sure we are able to compete in all 4 of them.
Well, she's expecting more then from her team, suggesting that perhaps there's better to come from them as well, which is pretty ominous really for everybody else, Courtney.
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to strike it from my memory of playing against Chelsea over the years, but there was always that thing where you play against them and then they make a sub and they take one senior international off with 50 caps and they bring another one on and you're like, oh, give me a break. But no, look, they're a fantastic team built with winners from back to front. There was I think it was a couple of years ago now under Emma Hayes, where sort of the recruitment strategy was you had to be a senior international. They talk about captains all over the pitch. So, yeah, sort of the level of players they're recruiting are absolutely incredible. Ellie Carpenter coming in, I think, is a really good signing as well. But for me, and I think she sort of touched on it there, Sonia Bonpastor, they got it done last season. But I think at times they didn't play as well as they could have done, or maybe as well as people were expecting with the level of players they've got. But then when you're in multiple competitions, you've not had a lot of time and changeover over the season. You've got players playing with sort of injuries. Leave the League Cup, leave the FA Cup, and we'll give you the Champions League. And the league should go, yeah, bite your hand off. They want the Champions League. I won't say bite your hand off, but if they said to her, you can have the Champions League and that's it, they would have that. Because Chelsea have had 6. They've got 8 altogether, the most successful WSL team. That's the one they've not got. That's the one that they want. They will give everything to get that trophy. So, yeah, it's going to be an exciting season to see sort of where the rise and the falls are, both for Chelsea, but everyone involved. And I just keep, in the back of my head, all I'm thinking is London City Lionesses, like the amount, the transfers that they've brought in. And I think they're going to give it a right good go. I think we'll see something from them we've not seen from a promoted team ever in the WSL in terms of coming in and having an incredible go at the league. I'm not saying they're going to go and win it, but like mid, 4th, 5th, or around there, being really, really competitive right off the bat.
Yeah. Look, there's been a number of managerial changes, we should say, in the WSL too. And one of those is in North London. We're going to hear from a current WSL manager then in just a moment. That is the new Spurs boss, Martin Ho, as he spoke to me a little bit earlier on about his side's preparations for the new season as he takes the reins then in North London. This is Kick-Off on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. It's 18 and over. BeGambleAware.org. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT with me, Natalie Sawyer, and Courtney Sweetman-Kirk. And we're going to focus on Spurs right now because much like the Tottenham men's side, there's been a change of management for the women's team, with both sides following similarly disappointing league seasons. The new women's head coach is Martin Ho, who has a wealth of experience both domestically and internationally, having been an assistant at both Everton and Manchester United, and also a manager in Norway with SK Brann ahead of his move to Spurs this summer. Before we hear from him, Courtney, what do you think of Tottenham? How do you think they're going to fare? Because when you look at the previous season, got to the FA Cup final, finished, 6th, I think it was. Everyone expected them to kick on, and that didn't quite happen last year.
No, it didn't, and I'm still slightly worried. I don't think in terms of the sort of the incomings, there's been something that's really excited me. But what I will say is I know Martin Ho well. He was my assistant at Everton, and he's one of the most technically gifted and proficient coaches that I've worked with. His technical detail is absolutely incredible, and obviously has gone on to then obviously be a manager at Brann and done really well there. So I'm excited for him to see what he can do with this group of players. And there's still, don't get me wrong, in that Spurs squad, some fantastic players. But for me, like you say, there's that feeling that they've not really pushed on. They've not gone to that next level, and that's where I worry about Spurs a little bit. But I think safe hands with Martin, hopefully.
OK, well, his enthusiasm certainly shone through when I spoke to him a little bit earlier on. It came before the news about Daniel Levy broke this evening, but I started by asking, why did he choose North London?
The ambition of the club, Natalie, I think, to come in and really rebuild and put something in place that, more importantly, the club can be proud of, something that can be exciting for the fans, and really create a connection with the fans, the local community, the club, more importantly, and make sure that we're in a position where we're competitive.
So in terms of a Martin Ho team, what can those fans expect?
Yeah, an aggressive, highly intense, very proactive, very proficient, very exciting, more importantly. But probably the underpinning part is very hard-working, very resilient, very committed to this club and more the team. To make sure that we can achieve what we want to achieve. And
I suppose for those that might not have seen you on a touchline, what kind of a manager are you going to be? Are you an active manager on the touchline? Are you more passive? What can we see? What will we expect from you?
Yeah, probably do about 5K a game on the side. But more importantly, I think I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm as passionate as the players. I want to see the players succeed. I will head and kick every ball with the players, more importantly, and I want this club, more importantly, and I want this team to be successful. And I have the best interest at heart for each player, and I want to make sure that as a staffing group and a playing group, we can connect and stay together. And more importantly, I can show that and demonstrate that through my leadership and my passion, as I said, and desire for the game. But more importantly, my desire to make sure that this club is successful in the future.
I mean, obviously, you've been involved in the women's game for quite a while now with Everton and Manchester United women as well. And then you moved to Norway. And I just want to talk about that Norway experience, if that's all right. Although I know now you're very much the Tottenham head coach, women's head coach. But what was that experience like in Norway for you? What did you learn from playing or managing in a different country? It
was unbelievable. It was probably the best experience I've had, if I'm honest. From being so accustomed to maybe the English culture and the English way of doing things, taking myself out of my own comfort zone and coming away from it was important to really see if I wanted to do management, Natalie, and what it was like, but do it in a way where I didn't have as much media coverage on me, so I could do it in a quieter way. I could learn, I could try things, I could try and be a bit more authentic to myself, and that taught me different football culture, a totally different culture in terms of from a humanity perspective of players. Obviously, the big one will be the language and the change in language, which was good. Because something I've always said I wanted to do was learn and understand a new language, and I worked really hard at that, which was important. But it taught me a lot around creativity, innovation, leadership, managing people, managing staff, managing players when you don't always have the ability and resource and finance to be able to have the infrastructure and the size of the clubs around you like we do in the Super League now. And more importantly, that's going to probably put me in good stead now moving forward as a manager, because I know what my strengths are, sure that I know what my staff strengths are, so we can get the best out of the team and best out of one another. And more importantly, using those experiences from the Champions League. When I was there, we played in the quarter-final against Barcelona. We played in the group stages against Lyon and some wonderful teams. And those experiences will definitely play a part in what I do and shape my career and my management, but will also shape some of the decisions I make here. Of building a team and, more importantly, creating an identity. So, it was something that I will cherish, and I'm very grateful for that I got the opportunity. And I think it was now the right time to come back to England.
So let's talk about the now and Tottenham. How did pre-season go?
Yeah, brilliant. It's been a whirlwind of 5 or 6 weeks, as you can imagine, from moving everything over from Norway and in the space of a short time and then settling in. It's been really good. I think there's a wonderful group of staff here from a leadership perspective with Vinay, Andy, Daniel and Rebecca, and they've enabled me to settle really quickly. And the staffing group around the team on a day-to-day basis have enabled me to hit the ground running on the pitch, and being able to delegate to them with the expertise they have in their areas has been brilliant. And the playing group, I couldn't have asked for any more. They've trained hard, they've worked hard. We've given them a very clean slate for them to build on, and we've tried to create a real clear identity and philosophy and methodology of how we want to look. And more importantly, those foundations are in place, and we just have to build now on top of that.
The clean slate obviously is massively important for those players that might not be involved, week in, week out previously. And also the fact that last season, it has to be said, Martin, I know obviously you weren't involved, but it wasn't a great season for Tottenham, especially at what happened the previous year when they got to the FA Cup final and finished 6th in the WSL. I think everyone was hoping that they would build on that and perhaps do better, but didn't quite work out that way, and they ended up in a sort of relegation battle. So what was the mood like in the camp when you took over? Yeah,
being honest, I think there wasn't a lot of motivation. There was a lot of, the confidence wasn't great. As you can imagine, you've just finished second to bottom, and like you said, you maybe felt like you were in a relegation battle. And more importantly, it was my job then to come in and create a new culture, new environment, and give a new feel and energy to the group. And I think me as a human does that in terms of, I'd like to think naturally, in terms of my persona and my personality enables that to happen. And the players have maybe felt that now in terms of how big I am on the human connection and togetherness of the individuals and those players together, how much they can stay together and the morale they build between themselves. And more importantly, that starts to show on the pitch, which is nice. I'm trying to just lift that aspect more than anything psychologically, is getting them in a place where they feel really valued, they feel confident, they feel like they can go onto the pitch and they've got everyone going in the same direction as them and no one's drilling holes in the boat. And that's probably been the biggest thing for me. And I've seen a big shift in that mentality now in the group, and we still have a lot of work to do. And as you know, it's not going to change in 5 or 6 weeks. It takes a lot of time to continually do that. You can persistently will get there, but consistency will keep you at that level. And we have to make sure that the mentality and the strength within, with the togetherness, is there throughout.
And how have you found the transfer window?
Really great fun chatting to Martin
hard
there.
To get players in?